are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Surlana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence.
Greetings and salutations, I am Spaceboy.
And I'm Surlana.
And this is Spaceboy Universe. It is September 2nd. 2017, and tonight we're just going to explore the universe on different issues. As always, follow us on Twitter, that's at the SB Universe. Follow our host, that's me, that's at Spaceboy Music. Follow Surlana at Surlana. Of course, follow the network that brings you all this fine content, and that's at the SBU Network. Remember to hashtag your tweets tonight with hashtag SB Universe, hashtag Space Cadets, because we're watching the Twitter verse right now, and you can chime in at any time and we'll answer your questions off of that too. But always, if you want to join the Space Cadets, you can do so by going to spaceboyuniverse.com, click the dancing chat bubble in the player, and that will get you in with all the cool kids. In addition to Twitter, you can find the universe on Facebook, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, and many more places. Speaking of YouTube, you can find more than the SBU of archive of shows there. There is video content from SB Music, SBU video interviews, 2-Bit Gamers, and so much more. So go out there and subscribe. Can't catch a show live? No problemo. Take the show on the go. That's right. Via Spreaker, SoundCloud, and iTunes, because we love to broadcast. And with all that said, Surlana, how are you?
A lot better now. All things considered, our entire lives have been about the storm. I haven't seen any international news or any other national news beyond the concern, because that's our whole world right now. Getting back up and running, trying to find groceries, trying to find gas, any other supplies, because things got kind of wiped out before the storm. And then right the day after, when we could get out, so I had an anxiety attack Thursday night because I was going to get up early, and I did, really early Friday morning because I was still off. I don't go to work till Tuesday. I didn't know if I was going to have to stand in line to get into the grocery store, if I was going to have to fight my way in, and I got there like at 6:45, and they said, well, they don't open till 8, and then people would drive up, and they go up to the door like, oh, we don't open till 8, and then they would get in the car and drive off, and I went, y'all are stupid. I sat there for an hour, but they still let us in 30 minutes before 8, and I got in there, and it was just kind of like a ghost town. Now, they didn't have eggs, and almost all the bread was gone. It was just the bread that most people don't really want to eat, but it was still decent bread. It was honey wheat bread.
It was good.
You've seen pictures on social media about everything is gone from like the refrigerated section except all the vegan food because it's expensive and nobody wants it. And so I went there, and they actually had milk because they had been restocked. They must have gotten a truck come in, So it paid to get there early, but I didn't really have a plan for meals. I said, I'll just get pastas, I'll get meat, I'll get whatever frozen foods I can.
The basics.
So we'll just make it up as we go. But, oh my goodness, what was odd was to see the choices people made, you know, and almost all of the sodas were gone. That's what's so surprising, except for the Pepsi products, because nobody likes freaking Pepsi products down here in Texas. So, you and I had been living out of
A van down by the river.
a van for 2.5 nights, and just off of whatever fast food was open and whatever convenience stores. We went into the convenience store. All the fountain drinks were gone one day. They did have ices, and all the snack size chips were gone except for the really strange, obscure brands that nobody wanted them.
Well, in all fairness, we do have a Latino population here, and there are a lot of Latino type products, like the
Takis and
and those aren't too bad. It's just I guess
nobody wants them.
I think people were very selective with the basics of things that are generically. I wouldn't say generically Pringles is a generic product, but it is a product that a lot of people enjoy and they know and could go to and know
the main Pringles
it's not going to
flavor,
burn a hole through their heart.
The main Pringles flavor in the red can, that's all gone. It's all the strange flavors that are left. It's just interesting to see what people go for. Crisis, and half the ice cream was missing. And I'm like, seriously, ice cream? And it's,
Look, these are creature comforts. Things that make us feel good, and just to get through the trying times. I'm sure that's why a lot of people bought ice cream and things that didn't seem. To be honest with you, when this first started. I didn't really see a lot of soda being purchased initially.
Initially, no, that was just water, which is good. I'm thinking, well, that's good. That's healthy. The beer was gone.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the next thing to go was a soda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, third.
So
you got to have your priorities.
Yeah, but where we live, we got out and explored. We haven't been past a certain area, but everything north of I-10 seems okay, except when you go further up to 59 in the Kingwood area. That's devastated. Mm-hmm. But signs of life are coming back in this area. There's parts of this area that doesn't look like anything ever happened. Does it look anything strange? Except for Beltway 8 at Kimberly, which is less, would you say that's less than a mile from here? Mm-hmm. Less than half a mile from here.
It's not very far from here.
We just boop, 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 you're right there. Mm-hmm. And the reason that is still flooded is because Beltway 8 goes under this street, which goes over the top. Kimberly goes over the top, and it's very, very low.
Yes.
So it filled all the way to the top, and then it created a sinkhole up there, I guess, where the wall meets the road up there.
Yes.
And it all just came down.
Well, see, the kind of let our audience know is about that area where it's extremely low as you're going to go through the Beltway, and part of that comes close to Buffalo Bayou, which is the reason why it's so flooded is that you have the two dams. Now, if you follow me, you've probably seen some of the pictures I posted of the water being released from these dams. There's two reservoirs. There's one that we're right next to, the Addicks Reservoir, and then there's the Addicks, excuse me, and then the other one, Barker
Cypress.
That empties. And it splits this is I-10, but they're self-contained areas where they're designed to drain directly into Buffalo Bayou, and Buffalo Bayou is just south of 10, so we're like, within that mile or so of all the dam being released of all this water. And that water's not going to go down anytime soon. In fact, we're talking about 15 days where
if it's sunshiny, I suppose,
to drain all this water out of the dam area. And
sorry.
So this water goes from these dams all the way, and it snakes through all the way to downtown.
Well, it's a shocking amount of water. You're talking 50 inches in 24 to 48 hours. That's an entire year's worth of rain in 2 days. And I saw the photos of Beltway 8 and Kimberly at its peak. It was, like I said, it was shocking, that sinkhole. The other thing that was just jaw-dropping to me is looking at the route I take every single day to work. And there's one point where I-10 swings south toward downtown, and as soon as it swings south and then it starts to curve around, right in that curve, I exit. And right before you get there, completely underwater. I mean, it looked like it was photoshopped. It looked like somebody had photoshopped a lake over I-10, but it was absolutely real. And it was just so surprising. That's because of its proximity to Buffalo Bayou as well. Now, Buffalo Bayou it winds around pretty far into around the city, and it goes around my workplace, around the side, and in the front, and around the side again. So it almost surrounds the main building of my workplace. Now, my workplace is elevated, probably more so than other buildings around there. And for it to flood, to get up in the lowest level and in the parking garage is a big freaking deal. It's beyond biblical level of floods. So it was just pretty amazing. And they posted photos of the garage where I park, on the level I park on, flooded. And it shocked me to the core. Now, some of the things I've read is they're saying it's going to take us years to recover. Now, that's certainly true for businesses and homes where they've lost all or nearly all of it.
At least 100,000 people have lost homes, destroyed, or
have just work to be done.
If
they would choose to return. Now, like I said, things are almost back to normal here, except for stores that may still need to be restocked. We had some issues with getting gasoline in, and the gasoline that was already here got water in the gasoline, so that's a problem.
In some locations.
Yes. not all.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I was able to get groceries Friday because I got up the crack of dawn, and I was all anxious, and I had a full-on anxiety attack all that evening, all that night, which you can attest to. Took my medication. So I got some basics, and of course, I don't know if you follow Spaceboy here on his personal Facebook or any other social media, you've seen the tragedy of the strawberry jam by now. If you're a regular, which he's posted, he's been trying to get that into the house for a couple weeks now. Can't remember where it was out.
Well, I appreciate you stealing my story.
Go ahead.
But I want to backtrack because we're still talking about getting gas and finding things. And one thing I've noticed about with these grocery shopping things that they've been doing here is businesses like Walmart and H-E-B and Kroger have limited their window of when they're open and kind of orderly had people come in to get supply. So they've been
that could be because they don't have the number of employees to work all those hours too.
That's fine, but what I'm saying is that I think it's been good because they've kind of like, hey, let's not have a run on the market here, kind of like trying to wipe them out completely and leave just nothing across the board and make shortages across Houston. Granted, Houston is in a bad spot, but the way they've been doing this and handling it, I think has been very great in the sense that it's allowing people to get what they need. I guess that also ties hand in hand with the 10 o'clock curfew that they've initiated here in Houston.
I don't know if that's still going on or not.
Well, during the times that they've been, doing it, trying to keep the looters down to a minimum. I mean, granted, there hasn't been many looters, but the looters that are out there, Houston has taken a hardcore approach to these people.
You're looting. You're a lunatic because
they're not going to pull you over if you're working to some degree. They were looking for the ones that had no business, roaming around after hours and taking these people off the streets, and because there have been a few looters.
But that's just, if you're looting anywhere in Texas, you're insane, because half of Texans are not unarmed. I mean, we can protect ourselves.
That is true. Most Texans do arm themselves, and whatever your opinion is on having the right to have a gun, is strictly your own. And here in Texas, we do have that right to carry.
You have a right to carry concealed and unconcealed as long as you have a license, and the place you're going to, if it has a sign that says don't bring that in here, you can't. But I really think Texas is trying to get ready for the big apocalypse, because they just passed a law here that says not only can you carry your gun legally with the right permit, you can carry now legally, openly, knives, swords, long knives, daggers, machetes, and spears, all out in the open if you wish to. But of course, if you can't take them to schools, bars, hospitals, and churches, all the places you really need them. But so my workplace has all those signs that says no firearms, no, with a big gun with a circle through it. So I'm thinking they're going to have to go back and revise those signs to include all weapons.
Despite what people think, we are not the Wild West here. I mean, it's not.
You can do it illegally, but I have never seen anyone in Houston carrying anything openly.
I believe that most people, probably feel that just conceal it.
It's better concealed,
and to have it ready
if you need it.
And it's just
you never show your cards.
It's kind of like,
never show your
and
cards.
I read an interesting story, Surlana, so indulge me here for a second.
Yeah.
This young man went to go rob this business. So
I know this was going.
he basically went in and held people up at gunpoint. And of course, he picked the wrong business to rob. Apparently, he picked the business. It was an MMA fighting club where they teach you how to fight, and they messed this guy up pretty hard. And needless to say, this guy was an idiot. So it's kind of like, I guess I bring this story up in the sense that, if you're going to do something stupid like that in Texas, not necessarily rob. Yeah, well, I guess if you're going to rob somebody in Texas, you better watch out, especially homeowners. Homeowners will protect their
Because
homestead.
we have that law, King of the Castle law, that if you're defending your property, your home, and you shoot them, you can't get prosecuted. But I saw another story, just like what you just mentioned, where some idiot goes to rob a business, like a convenience store, and the 4 or 5 other people that were in there browsing and shopping all pulled out their handguns. It's like, see, now that's what we need, is responsible people who are not looking for trouble, who know how to use their weapons. So if what goes down, they can all turn on the one person that's trying to do something illegal.
Well,
that's my favorite thing.
I guess in the long term, you can't change stupidity, because stupidity is out there regardless of.
Stupidity is universal.
Yeah, it's universal. Everybody, it's out there, and that ties back into the dummies that take their cars and I can get through this water, and
well, tragically, that did happen. We had been hearing this story since, I guess, Sunday or Saturday or Sunday. So the latest is 6 bodies have been recovered of this family that they were in a van and it got swept off a bridge here in Houston and into this bayou. And the Harris County Sheriff returned to the scene to look for the van and noticed that they finally saw part of it poking above water, and they saw the bodies in the front seat, and in the back they had the kids. It was 2 adults and 4 children, and they did perish. And so that's some of the saddest stories that we've heard so far.
Yeah, it is sad, and and when I say it's really hard to. I don't want to seem like I'm quarterbacking this from a lawn chair in the sense that, calling everybody that runs into this water stupid. The people in that van could have been in a situation.
They might have been panicked.
They panicked. They, got down the wrong way, and then, because the water was rising at a pretty fast rate.
Even in homes where,
But my complaint was more of the people, at intersections of freeways where clearly they're in like a smart car, and they think, oh, I can get through this water, and obviously, they can't. The best thing to do is just not chance it, because here in Houston, you could go from, water look like a puddle, but then it could be like a drop into an 18-foot,
They have these gauge meters all town. They have this big. They have it on our digital billboards, turn around, don't drown. I mean, you can only do so much, for that type of thing. But it's going to happen every time, unfortunately, I think. But so I don't know what everyone outside of Houston's been hearing, or in Texas, other parts of the country, other parts of the world. I'm sure some of you may be tired of hearing about this storm. You may be hearing about the spirit of Texas and of Houston, about us pulling together, but it's all true. It's not just hype for once. Mm-hmm. Try not to get tired of it. I'm asking you, please. I want you to know that there's pockets of human decency still left.
I'm glad you brought that up, because, you seem to be the pessimist in our relationship. And the hope that I always talk about is the hope that I see every time I go down the street to talk to somebody at the gas station, or go to work and I come across a customer that, it's the spirit here in Houston is just what actually, one, is what Texas is all about, and two, what America should be all about. It's not all about the hate that's going on. I mean, those groups.
I've been shocked about that.
Those groups are small and insignificant compared to the rest of America and what they think and see and hear. At the end of the day, America is very much like Houstonians, helping out in their community, helping their brother man get out of the floodwaters, and that's been so significantly, and everything we've seen video-wise and reports, and it's important that I'm not saying to our audience that Houston is the best compared to any other place. I'm just saying that this is a shining example of what hope looks like, and what I aspire every time I get on Spaceboy Universe to talk to you, our space cadets, to promote the good. I've mentioned it before that, when you come to the Spaceboy Universe Spreaker chat room, you're not going to worry about people being bullied in that chat room. I take these things very seriously because I promote a wellness that should be shared among everyone. And it's that hope that I cling on to, and I'm glad to see that hope is still very much alive here.
Well, I was shocked about some of the signs of solidarity around the country that I didn't think, like New York, I didn't think they much cared for us down here in the South, but, they've done a few signs. Now, for the more entertaining side of this is if you go to the reddit.com, and you look under the Houston thread, you'll find a lot of stuff there. There was a photo of a guy who drove down here from Dallas. He said he can only stay for 2 days, but he wanted to help out. He had to go back home and get ready for a job interview. And one of these Houstonians down here said, "Thank you so much for all your help. I'm sure you did a great job. And in fact, we'll keep the F Dallas comments down to a minimum for the next few months." There is a certain animosity between the two towns here. So they have stepped up. They've taken a lot of refugees. They've taken a lot of our animals who had to be rescued when we didn't have a spot for them. Different places around the country have taken in animals that were already at shelters to get them out of the way to make room for the refugee animals. And of course, something I'm sure maybe you're tired of hearing this, or maybe you haven't heard it all, is a Houstonian called Mattress Mack.
I didn't want to get into that right now. Okay. I want to wait until the next hour.
Well, like I said, not everything did as well as us. Like everything south of I-10 didn't seem to do so well. And again, it has to do with the bayous. In fact, our mayor said that there's a mandatory evacuation for our neighborhoods that flooded north of Briar Forest and west of Gessner Road, and the electricity will get turned off from these areas as they do controlled releases from the reservoirs that may cause standing water in these places for up to 2 weeks. Okay. And, I'm glad you brought that one up. And it's stuff that I want to talk about is what made me frustrated beyond belief. But let's start with the good positive. Social media has played a big part in, I guess, getting out different things during this hurricane. It has played a part in finding people and using it as a way to navigate people to get help. Mm-hmm. And it's been very positive in that sense. Exactly. So spreading that word out has been great. The downside is there's been some jokers out there that has put false information out there. Mm-hmm. Did you come across any of that false information? Yes, but the problem is the people who are sharing it don't know they're sharing false information, fear-mongering information, fake. Like, okay, let me say this for good old BuzzFeed.com. BuzzFeed is not a source of news. BuzzFeed is a place when you want to go take 80,000 quizzes on what would be your spirit animal's toenail polish's color. Just idiotic stuff like that. I mean, I'm guilty of going there occasionally.
In all fairness, BuzzFeed did come down and did some reporting on some of the things on here. But you're absolutely right. BuzzFeed is not... I've never looked at BuzzFeed as a legitimate source of news. It's information.
It's entertainment. It's entertainment first and foremost.
Information there, but not the all end all to getting your news source.
No, please don't rely on them 100%. Go there, see what they're saying, compare it to other things, sure, but don't make that your go-to place for
enjoy their content. That's what they're there for. It's an enjoyable read, but
way too much content. But yeah, they already shared a very misleading story about the track of the latest hurricane, Irma, that's coming on. And, they had it coming straight at Houston because they thought, I guess, that would just be sensational to have, oh, look, you're really going to get clobbered. When nobody has anything beyond the 5-day forecast. Even the Weather Channel says we can't know beyond 5 days.
Let's pick that thought up. Let's take a little break here for a second, Surlana. It's a lot of information out there, and I hope you'll stick with us tonight because we're talking about the hurricane and our personal experiences that we've gone through. You definitely are going to hear the goat. There's a few things that get my goat that I will definitely lay down and give you the nitty-gritty on that. So, on that magical note, you are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU Network.
This is a test. This is a test. This is a test. Test, 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 test. This is a test to the SBU network. This is a test. This is a test. This is a test. Test, 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 test. This is a test to the SBU network.
And we're back. And I guess right before we left for break, Surlana was talking about the fake news that might be going out there. Well, is going out there.
Yeah.
And why don't you pick it up there, Surlana?
Well, like I said, and it's not just with a thing. It's everything. It's everything. Like with Irma, people. It's clickbait. People want you to click on their stuff and stay there so they can make a turnover and a profit. So, of course, your go-to place is Snopes.com, and I found a lot of interesting things there. I didn't know that these rumors were going around necessarily. I had heard this. I had heard that CNN, when they were down here, staged a rescue from the floodwaters. They were trying to help somebody get out of floodwaters, but they staged the whole thing. Well, that turns out to be false, too. They didn't stage anything. So, however, our local news reporters beat them to it because they were out there reporting and they would put stuff down and go help victims. I can't remember her name. One of our local female reporters from one of our local stations, might have been KHOU, she flagged down a big rescue truck because she saw a semi down on the feeder road, which was lower than the where they were standing, and it was submerged up to the cab doors, windows. And she flagged down this thing, and they went down there and got the guy out, and they were just hugging on each other. So there's some things that are absolutely true that did happen along those lines. Now, did Trump assist rescuers in pulling out Harvey victims? No, that's really good Photoshop, and it's pretty hysterical, actually.
Well, actually, in all fairness, President Trump was here in Houston again, and he was at the George R. Brown helping out.
He came back.
He came back and helped, and him and Melania helped out.
They did. They passed out some food and supplies, and I don't know. I haven't really paid attention to the past presidents, but my gosh, will Trump take a selfie with anybody?
You know,
he likes to be
a ham.
Yeah, but I'm like, doesn't that make?
I really can't speak badly about this because I personally enjoy a selfie.
But doesn't that make his what do you call it, Secret Service nervous when
I imagine so that it makes them nervous, and you got to be concerned with the times we live in. But that's Trump's thing. That's his deal. What he does is he gets out there and mingles with the people. And. Which, I want to bring this up. So even Barack was that kind of person too. But I bring up Barack in the sense that...
He never came to Texas.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he had that same kind of mingling. He was like... Barack was kind of a unique first president in the sense that he really tapped into multimedia. But I wanted to bring that up because, there was a picture floating around out there that showed him supposedly helping out here in Houston. And that picture was false.
He's nowhere near Texas.
That was him and the family helping out, and I can't remember what.
Some other event.
Some other event. And so, a lot of people were saying, hey, look, Barack is down there doing this. No, that was a false. Well, they used the picture and labeled it as something else. So that's another example of having
people are believing.
To believe, you have to wade through to find the truth.
People are very good at Photoshop. Somebody that we know shared a photograph, and this goes around every time something floods. Someone photoshops a shark in the floodwaters, and it's never real.
Right.
Shark.
It seems like it's that same picture.
Couldn't survive in the nastiness.
That same picture. It's
not the same picture, but it's the same kind of picture. And I just put Photoshop. There's no way a shark would survive in the nastiness that is floodwaters.
Yeah, there was a few pictures that I put out there with my favorite Romulan senator. It's a fake.
Well, some of the other rumors are going out are people who are donating. although it doesn't matter, it's just that I don't want you praising people for donating who are not actually donating. Now, they're saying Floyd Mayweather's donating a large sum of money to relief efforts. This is false. It's a phony story, and it's getting recycled. Prince William and Prince Harry, no, they have not donated anything.
Now, J.J. Watts, on the other hand.
Well, he is a Houston Texan, which, when I mean a Texan, he is a Texan football player, the Houston Texan NFL team.
Right.
He started the ball rolling, and I think we've got $10 million.
Originally, he started off to try to collect like $200,000, and he met that, and he steadily kept on growing, and it reached a point where it froze up the site where they were collecting donations. So he ended up calling the president of the site and the president ended up fixing it to where they could go on, and I think it's over $14 million that he's collected through this. And, he was blown away because he wasn't expecting to get all that. I mean, he initially had a certain goal to collect money, but he's definitely surpassed that amount. And clearly, people are donating to that.
Another one is it true that Sandra Bullock donated $2 million to Hurricane Harvey victims? And it says mostly true. She donated $1 million. So, I mean, difference of $1 million. The rumor is that Trump was going to give his personal money. It's mostly true. They're saying he was going to do that, but it's unclear as of day before yesterday whether or not it's actually happened. I think he would if he could. On August 28th, Kroger's Facebook said they would promise $5 per share of a donation cap of $100,000. Walmart was supposed to donate $1 million. They said that's mostly true. They'll donate up to $10 million in cash and products to match customer donations 2-to-1. NFL, mostly true. They're going to try to give $1 million, but they don't know if it's happened yet. It's reported they've got efforts going on. They have $6.2 million donated by NFL teams in the league so far. So, Texas-based billionaire Dell Technologies founder Michael Dell is donating $36 million. Mostly true. He pledged $18 million himself and matching funds for outside donations, which total $36 million. So he donated some up to, goal of raising $100 million. So and Leonardo DiCaprio has donated $1 million as well. Which is kind of shocking. So,
well, I mean, it's great to see those people have opened their wallets and donated and everything, which leads me to someone here, a businessman here in Houston, by the name of Jim McInville. And he's a Houston legend. He's also known as Mattress Mack, and he started doing a lot of his commercials like after midnight, and they were funny, they were entertaining, and
they remind me of those local homegrown furniture videos that are all goofy and wacky and very low budget.
And how he got to start.
How he got to start. Now,
but the thing is that
it's classy now.
The Jim has always been a class act because he has always been there when the community was in need. So we must dial back the hands of time when Katrina happened. When the Katrina victims came here to Houston, Mac opened up his stores and allowed people to stay in his store.
And we're talking his store, that's Gallery Furniture. It's a furniture store. And currently, I don't know if they're still there now, but beginning, I guess, as soon as it happened, he opened his locations for people to come in, and I'm talking, they're sitting right on the gallery floor for all the floor models. And this reporter says, "Aren't you worried people, going to get your furniture here dirtied up and messed up?" It's like, doesn't matter. We can get them clean. Have a sale. We'll have a flood sale afterwards, and it's not a big deal. He says, "We lose a few days of business, we'll make it up." He didn't care.
No, but what he did, you could tell as the gentleman interviewed him for the news story, is that you could tell that he loves Houston and he loves people, and he didn't give it a second thought in his mind to bring these people in. In fact, it was how it all started in this situation was a family had came in, and I guess the child of the family said, "Can we stay here?" He asked, or I guess it was, I'm not sure the sex of the child, he, she, whatever, and said, "Can we stay here?" And Jim said, "Yeah, you could stay here, no problem." And that's when he opened his doors, and he's done this before. I mean, the man has always.
I didn't realize that. I don't know if they're all, but the main one on 45 North, that one, I've never been there, so I didn't realize he kind of has it kind of like a mini IKEA in that he has a restaurant in there and a play place for kids, and so he had the accommodations, he had the food, and he had the water ready. He even sent his delivery vans out to pick up stranded people in flooded areas and brought them to his locations. And I saw an interview, a phone interview. I don't know where I guess it's Ireland maybe. I guess there's a local guy over there in I guess it's Ireland, who's known as Mattress Mack, who has a chain of mattress stores or furniture stores. And so they called Mattress Mack. They said, "We wanted you to meet Mattress Mack." So Mick talked to Mack and told him that he really admired him and that he's an inspiration for the Irish. He goes, "Well, I'm coming to Ireland so for such and such, so I want to meet y'all. Maybe we can do some commercials over there together." And the guy was like, "Oh, yes."
So, Mattress Mack is, he's really somebody, there's I guess they're trying to get a Mattress Mack Day. Here in Houston for his continuing, giving back to the community, which is great to see, which at this point we must turn the tables on something else here of someone who's major in our community. And let me start this off, Surlana. Give me a chance to say this.
Can I just push one thing first?
Sure.
I'm still on Snopes.com, which is, the famous debunking site. Just real quick. She's like, "Okay, did CNN mistake Tim Allen for Joel Osteen?" CNN did not mistakenly use a picture of actor Tim Allen for a story about Pastor Joel Osteen. So I just want to put that in.
Anyway, so, I believe in researching from A to Z. I think most of y'all know that. And so when it comes to the big mega churches, I'm not a big fan of that, and I want to just put that out. I'm not denouncing. If you go to a mega church, great. Maybe your mega church is good, and you have a great congregation there.
You used to go to one.
You go. I mean, and it's all fine to each their own. Where I have a problem with is when you have somebody that's prominent in a community like Joel Osteen. I'm just so used to Osteen, The thing is that he was accused of not opening his doors to people for the flood victims and things that have happened. So my problem is that here is a prominent member of the church out there here in Houston, and he is nowhere in sight from the beginning of this mess when he had a great opportunity to basically
open this church as a shelter.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you tell me about it early on? I saw a post. I said somebody's upset that Lakewood Church hasn't opened their doors as a shelter, and you read up on it, and you said that Houston hadn't asked them to do it, and then you read further that Osteen, I don't know how it's pronounced, said that they weren't prepared to help people, and like a church is not prepared to help people. Okay.
So here's where and I get back on the wagon on that. Okay, let's just say he was told that, or they were told not to for help. Houston was told him, "No, don't worry about it." He should have still stood up in the community and said, "Hey, look, you need to go here. We're not equipped to do this right now. We're taking on some flooding in our basement, and it would be better off if you go to this shelter or that shelter, and we're praying for you, and yada, 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 the usual stuff that you might hear from a pastor.
And we're not bashing the church, the religion, the denomination. We're just saying it's odd compared to Mattress Mack, who is not a place to go to for refuge. You don't think of a furniture store, yet he's like, let's just do it. And he wasn't prepped,
right?
So he just is like, let's do it, we'll figure it out.
The thing is that Mattress Mack opened his arms, didn't bat an eye on it, and here you have someone who basically had a chance to, he really missed his chance to show what it's really to be about being a Christian. And that is my problem with this situation, is that there are so many false prophets out there, and here was a chance for someone who's so prominent in our community, could have been ahead of the wave and said, okay, I can't open the Lakewood Church. Now, let me back up here. Lakewood Church, for those who don't know, is housed in the building that the Houston Rockets used to play in. It used to be called the Summit, and then it became the Compact Center, and then they moved to their own stadium, the Toyota Center, which the Rockets now play. But this place used to be a place where you could go to see the Houston Rockets. Now, it's big, it's huge, and it's pretty accessible. And so, my problem is that I've seen a gentleman that was photographing or doing a video where he was walking down Richmond, which is right there by Lakewood Church, and walked right up to it, and he could see in where the entrance was to the church, and there was no standing water there. Now, that's the outside. Basement might be deeper. But the thing is that the structure itself is pretty high up to where it shouldn't flood. So my gripe is, and I'm sorry for this, Kay, I should have hit this earlier.
Sorry, Michelle.
This is what gets my goat. Here you have a gentleman who had an opportunity to show what a Christian is all about and be ahead of this, or to be a guiding light in darkness, and he dropped the ball on this. And, churches are supposed to be there to help those who are in need to find their enlightenment. And I think it's a missed opportunity that Joel Osteen missed. And,
his
and
name
that's
is
how I
Bud
feel
now.
How I feel about it. And the further that, there's a lot of things out there that are going around as like people are not happy with him. And compared to like Mattress Mack, who they want to make
Mattress Mack Day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is the shining example of what humanity should be all about. Is not even batting an eye, taking in your brother or your sister and letting them, feel comfort in times of need.
That the main gallery furniture, well, actually, I guess the other locations too, became also a major donation center, and they showed the donations stacking up. I mean, oh my gosh, the donations that are coming in of a lot of cleaning supplies for people who have to go back home, and of course essentials, and the George R. Brown Convention Center, where they have Comic-Con and the Houston Maker Faire and tons and tons gun shows, everything happens there. But they said, I was looking at Reddit, that somebody asked on the Houston thread, are there any negative things happening at the GRB during this time? And one of the volunteers who was working there responded, said, yes, but not in a negative way. She says one of the loading bays has been strained under the weight of the donations coming in, and we had to quickly get clothes off of it and moved in other places really quickly because it was bowing under the weight. And once they moved it up, it all kind of went back in place. And I saw a video of, it had to have been in the lobby area, where they just had the folding tables just lined up where they're sorting all the clothes and shoes. And it must have been the entire length of the center. That center's pretty big.
Right.
And it was just how people got so much there in such a short amount of time was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So, basically, those are my 2 cents worth of information on Mattress Mack and the comparison to Joel Osteen. Like I said, I'm not bashing Christianity when I say this.
No.
What I'm bashing is that, I'm reminded of the story of when Jesus went to the synagogue and there was these merchants selling stuff in the synagogue. And, of course, Jesus flipped out and, hey, you shouldn't be here. I'm kind of paraphrasing in a
weirdest way.
And kind of making it somewhat entertaining. But, yeah, Jesus did the smackdown and kicked a lot of these things. You shouldn't be selling stuff.
Make it sound like a WWF wrestler.
And I really think that, when it comes to Christianity, it's not for sale. It's not something that you can buy. It's something that you have to, come to your own enlightenment. And so that's why I have problems with preachers that, it seem like they're big dollars and big mansions and all that stuff. So anyway.
So what I wanted to get into, and we will talk about some other more lighthearted topics, but this is just really want to get some stuff off our table.
This is our, we're unloading after all this stuff. So anyway.
What does this mean now for Houston, for Texas, and the rest of the country? Because y'all are going to be affected as well. Now, I'm not sure as the credibility of this, but I have seen photos, but where these photos were taken, again, in this day and age, you just don't know. You can't believe everything you see or read. So, San Antonio and Austin seem to be causing a self-fulfilling prophecy gas shortage. That's how I'm putting it. Mm-hmm. They believe there's going to be a gas shortage, so they're causing one right now. I've seen photos of them gassing up, I don't know how many gallon-sized trash cans of gas from the pump.
Trash cans?
Yes. If I find it again, I'll show it to you.
What?
Again, I found a wealth of stuff on r/Houston on Reddit.
That's crazy.
So, I don't know what the actual story is as far as the gas shortage. Here in Houston, it's a matter of getting the trucks in to areas maybe that are flooded that can't refuel.
Right.
I don't know if we're having that issue in this side of town or not.
I don't really think so, because it seems like each time we've gone to get gas, there's been a few stores that have the plastic bags on their gas pumps, but then it's not hard. You just go to the next gas station and bam, you got some gas there. And so it's not that hard to find some gas. I mean, it's a little bit of a challenge, but ultimately, I haven't seen anybody whip out a garbage can and fill it up with gas.
No.
First off, I have to say, what a dumb for trying to even fill up a gas or put gas in a trash can like that.
Yeah, it's terribly unsafe, and I think they were just covering it with a trash bag reversed, not putting it in, putting it over.
But still.
Yeah, that's terribly dangerous and idiotic. So there's no official gas shortage yet, but yet they're creating one because they're afraid of it. Isn't that crazy? That's a paradox, isn't it?
It's basically putting a run on. It reminds me of It's a Wonderful Life, and I
was thinking Mad Max.
Well, in the sense that in the movie It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey's, I guess their family runs a savings and loan. And so Old Man Potter fixes it to where there's, I guess there's a run on the banks. And so, the community has their money invested in, each other's, houses and stuff like that. So they don't really have money just to give back to them because, they're investing in the house of the next person who wants a house. So, long story short, basically what happens is, hey, look. How much do you need to get by until you can get some more money? And that's how they ended up fixing the situation, and they ended up having just $2 left. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that if people would just calm down. It's not everybody gets into this tizzy, and then there's this run on the gas stations, and they're wiping them out, they're filling them up, and all that stuff. So
Just a heads up there.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's me. That's just a typo. Sorry, Kay.
Hold on just a second here.
Just
All right, so
FYI.
sorry, we had to.
I had to tell him something.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, you've got that going on, maybe here too. I don't know. But let's talk about the refineries.
Sure.
And maybe you could update me now. The refineries here, we do make up, is it like a third?
A third, yes.
The third of the supply here in America?
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. I apologize. Arkema plant in Crosby, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Crosby, Texas? Do you know?
I'm going to say it's in Texas. It's south, probably.
Yeah.
of us.
Crosby, Texas has, before this ever happened, before this storm happened, this plant in Crosby, Texas had 10 OSHA violations.
Mm-hmm.
Violations. What am I saying? OSHA violations. Excuse me.
Well, it's kind of like when you say reservoir.
Sidebar, what do you call? He made fun of me because I say reservoir because it's a freaking French word.
Yeah, but
and I'm from Louisiana.
When have you? Okay, first off, in the time that I've known you, being
how many
with
times
you,
have I said reservoir?
Have you ever gone French on me and say it like a Frenchman instead of just saying like, could you wiggle the mouse and because it's about to do an update?
Is that working?
Just snooze it.
Oh, for heaven's sake!
I am so tired of the Windows. Hey, we've got new experiences for you.
I don't care.
No, we don't care. So
Hold on.
anyway,
I just opened 6 tabs of the same link. Hold on.
yeah, you can keep opening the tabs while I talk. So in that time, you've never. I mean, in the way you say it, it's like you're trying to be Celine Dion and My Heart Will Go On and
How do you want me to say it so you can live your life?
Look, I'm just saying reservoir. I'm just doing the Texas way of saying it, and
You can't not say it French. It's reservoir.
okay. So anyway, long story short, it is what it is. And hey, on that magical note, it's good when we're arguing, people. So don't touch that dial.
I'm about to give someone a smackdown, all our Jesus style.
So we'll be right back after this exciting musical break, and so don't you touch that
Robert.
dial.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Surlana.
Yes, K28 brings up an interesting thing, is at the end of this month will be our 2-year anniversary doing Spaceboy Universe. It's hard to believe that we've been doing this for 2 years now, Surlana. It really kind of takes me back to when we first started in this very room. And, something, what did you say? Something to the effect about having to do laundry.
Yeah, we were more entertaining back then, I think.
What?
Maybe I've just become so jaded.
I don't know what to say other than, it's been interesting. I didn't expect you to actually come to this level of, doing what you're doing because, you have always been kind of reluctant.
No, I better not say that.
Hey, why don't we talk about those refineries?
Yeah, I'm going to slowly back away from that dangerous topic there. And, so we're talking about the refineries here and what impact the status of them has on the rest of the country. For instance, I'm talking about the Arkema plant already had some violations, and I was going to quickly tell you what those were that led to the certain situation. Some of these violations of this plant include not ensuring equipment was safe for hazardous location, having safety and inspection procedures that didn't follow good engineering practices, not inspecting and testing 11 pieces of equipment, including pipelines, not having records showing employees had proper training on operational procedures, not implementing written procedures for maintaining ongoing integrity of equipment. OSHA says all the problems were fixed, and the company paid $91,714 in fines. So that's what they found, and I guess they fixed it, but it's burning. That plant is burning, and there's been explosions of other plants and other plants around Texas. The coastals have damage due to flooding, the heavy rain, and releasing dangerous chemicals, and possibly this could create toxic rain. Chemicals like benzene, nitrogen oxide will create polluted water, oily sludge runoffs, and various explosions. So the economic impact of this could be, well, I don't know if it's going to be bad or good. I'm looking at an article that says that we've survived this before, and we've pitched in help and recover, but the economic impact could be likely $30 billion because of the rain. If it was just a hurricane, it could have been $4 or $5 billion worth of damage, but because of all that water, it's going to be more. So you're talking about a region that's home to oil, gas, energy, small manufacturers, large corporations, KBR, waste management, food service giant Cisco Foods. You've got the Port of Houston, major hospitals having to be shut down. Fourth or fifth, I've seen two statistics, fourth or fifth, largest economy in the U.S., sitting dead for 3 to 4 days. So that may have an impact, and it may have more of an impact locally for taxes, and of course the homes being destroyed, people may move out. Now, I read a comparison about how we're recovering from this versus New Orleans recovering from Katrina. We're already doing way better than New Orleans. Now, unfortunately, New Orleans in Louisiana, this happened during a time of a lot of political corruption, where you have the mayor getting arrested for embezzlement. Mayor Naked. Yeah. And then the people leaving because they had to because of flooding and destroyed homes, and all the majority of the people that left didn't come back, rebuild and reinvest in the community and whatnot. So you've got people here who are committed. You've got people who live here, people who work here, people who own businesses or run businesses who are not going to flee, because this felt like a once-in-a-lifetime storm. And it had been 12 years since we had one. So it's not like, it doesn't feel like we're getting battered, So we stand a better chance at recovering than New Orleans did for Katrina. In fact, they said New Orleans never did recover. They've still never recovered from it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think there's just a different level of commitment here that you can see with people like Mattress Mack and all the people who volunteered.
The community in general.
The community stepped up and volunteered to help their own neighbors.
I mean, the thing is that I've seen a few things giving us flack for like, we're waiting for FEMA to come to the rescue. That wasn't the case.
No.
A community stepped up and started, hey, how can I volunteer? How can I help? I mean, they did not wait for people to come help. And that was the wonderful thing about it. Just showed, how the true spirit of Texas is, hey, we don't need your help, government. We're doing it ourselves. Although I'm not denouncing, FEMA did come in and help. But it was truly the community that stepped up and helped themselves to get things taken care of, which was great to see.
We did not... I know what Kay was talking about. There's a photo that was going around... Before the storm hit, people did try to get some supplies. And I'm going to say it's a store like Walmart because it really looked like a Walmart. And it was a row of styrofoam coolers that had the Dallas Cowboy logo on it. And they were all there, untouched, because it had the Dallas Cowboys logos on it. Because this is Houston Texan, the Texan NFL. That's the name of our local NFL group. So because there is a rivalry like between Dallas and Houston, and I've not been a fan of Dallas. Even before I moved to Texas, I was not a huge fan of Dallas, but we've suspended it temporarily until things get back to normal. But we didn't buy any branded Dallas Cowboys logo gear to survive on, and I mean, if you can avoid it. But then no one bought vegan food. No one bought Pepsi.
That was funny too. The vegan food picture you showed that everything around the vegan food was gone.
It's just this pocket of. Mm-hmm. Well, for one thing, it's flipping expensive. Nobody can pay that under normal circumstances anyway. So you're trying to survive off of that. It just maybe it's good for you, but you can't afford that. So I see why, but that was pretty funny. So the impact of it, it's not known, but like I said, you were concerned that I wasn't getting paid this week. And we have a payroll code for natural disasters, weather-related disasters. So they have set up here, the Texas Workforce Commission says if you've lost money from your employer saying they're not going to pay you on the days you couldn't come in due to flooding, you can file for unemployment and they'll pay you.
Which that might, I'm going to look into that because there was a few days.
Yeah.
My job depends on having power and an internet connection.
Yeah.
If I'm not at work, I can remote in and take care of things, but couldn't do that. So, and I hate to admit it, I'm out of PTO time for various issues. But it's nice to know if indeed that is what it's all about. Then we'll see, and we'll report on it.
Yeah. So that's nice. Other companies are bending over backwards, local and national, like. Sprint said they weren't going to charge for phone time and text during this whole week until yesterday. They'll start yesterday, but that doesn't mean there isn't some price gouging. And usually, though, if we come out as a community on social media and we call these businesses out, they'll stop it.
Oh, yeah. And once again, it just goes to show you how powerful media has been through all this, good and bad. But mostly good.
But the problem is, if they're wrong and you can categorically prove that the post is wrong, you can still damage someone's reputation, even if it's false. So that's what's the downside is. So
that's why I constantly tell people that weigh what you read with a grain of salt, and don't just rely on one source of information. Get all sources of information and then draw some conclusions onto yourself.
Look at them, even the wacky ones. If they don't educate you, you'll be entertained. So now, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. And
That sounded like Forrest Gump. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, I know maybe the rest of the country's tired of hearing about it, but it was a big freaking deal. It was devastating. It was heartbreaking.
Yes, the water came within 4 inches of our doors. Yes, we did lose power.
And internet.
And internet. And when we lost that, it was like we went through the bad part of all that rain, and then only to lose our power for 2 days. And then most recently, internet has been on the fritz, but it's actually gone in and out twice today. And
I didn't enjoy sleeping in the van, but I understood why you didn't want to leave the house.
I was like, I wanted to be close and protect our house.
We did have water still, so we could still come in and use the bathroom and
take a shower.
The cat had the house to herself. I'm sure she was loving that.
And when the power came back on, and then
it went off, and it came on. It went off.
It's kind of like when we were in the van. I
just wasn't comfortable.
You saw the light came. I'm out of here. It's like
it came on and
4 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
It came on, and then it wasn't really on. That's the weird thing. So we came back in, and I don't know. I had never gone to sleep. I had my eyes closed, but I was trying desperately to listen to something to put me to sleep.
And I was like, I don't. You can go ahead and go back in the house, but I'm like comfortable where I'm at right now. I'm going to sleep until I'm ready to get up. And
okay, see you, bye.
Yeah. So you didn't,
lock the door, see you.
Left a cloud of dust like some cartoon
and I was
character.
Comfortable, and I don't know when you came in. Because I woke up, you were there. So
eventually I rolled, and after I woke up at normal time, which for me is around 6-ish, and
I didn't care for it.
And then I crawled into bed.
It's like camping,
and then it was like, okay, and then we just kind of slept.
I was trying to listen to things to go to sleep, and I was listening to comedy, and that was making me laugh. I was like, I guess quit listening to this. I'm going to wake you up. Because I found a new comedian, well, new to me, but I was just dying. So I tried to listen to some boring stuff or stuff that would put me to sleep. Mm-hmm. And then I have a queue of things on YouTube to listen to. And one of the things was scary camping stories. I'm like, well, guess I'm not listening to that one while I'm out here in this van with you in the dark, so with no lights, so I decided not to listen to that. But in statewide news, I don't know if any of you know this, but it is legal to have concealed and unconcealed handguns here, but you do have to have a license. But they just went into effect yesterday. You can now carry openly long knives, daggers, swords, machetes, and spears, unless the place you're going into says don't do that. So everything is fair game, and it just feels like Texas is ready for the apocalypse. It's like, okay, all your weapons, just put them out there where we can see it, and it's fine. So I have to laugh about that. Now, what also went into effect yesterday here statewide in Texas was it is now illegal to text and drive. You'll get fined, I guess, like, speeding type of thing.
Which means that I will now start doing longhand writing while I drive.
Oh, like you're just going to write it on a piece of paper?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, it was a bad joke, but we're moving on.
Because it's not illegal to write and drive. All right, so now we'll get on to some lighter news, which I have not shared with Spaceboy at all.
Oh, great. I enjoy these moments.
The first thing I'm going to share with you is I'm just going to put this on social media. I'm not going to go through this list, but it is a list of things coming and leaving to Netflix and Amazon Prime. And I'll just share that link on the SBU Universe via my Twitter. So if you want to look at that, you can look at that. But I found another tidbit that I know will interest Spaceboy, although I don't care about it. But I thought you'd find this interesting, which is the popularity of zombies is due to one mistake.
How did I know it was going to be zombies?
The popularity of zombies is due to one mistake in Night of the Living Dead, and the whole reason we have The Walking Dead, the ones in Game of Thrones, films 28 Dater, World War Z, Zombieland, and on and on and on.
28 days, did you say later?
Later.
Okay.
The popularity that stems from George R. Romero's 1968 film Night of the Living Dead. There's this new video essay from this woman, or it could be a guy, Christian with a K. Christian Williams delves into how one mistake in the film's release led to this renaissance of zombie stories that we have to this day. So, when Night of the Living Dead was released, the distributor forgot to place a copyright indicator on it when it changed the title from Night of the Flesh Eaters to Night of the Living Dead. So according to the copyright law at the time, if you leave that symbol off and the year, leave both the symbol and the year off of it, it's in public domain. So the film went straight into public domain and became the ultimate distribution tool because you didn't have to pay distribution rights, I suppose. And theaters, video stores, and TV stations could air it at no cost. And you can watch it right now on YouTube at no cost. So now copyright laws have changed a decade afterwards. So leaving the mark off the original work now wouldn't allow this to happen. So if you left it off to some your production now, I think you'd still be somewhat protected. But Romero's Undead, of course, is different from the Haitian folklore of zombies. But it was original enough that a copyright would have protected it for the concept of the modern zombie. So if the film hadn't been in public domain, Romero's hold on the film, the concept would have lasted till 2024. But because of that error, zombies are now a thing that can be easily exploited by other people. So that's why you've got zombie this, zombie that.
So imagine a world without zombie movies.
And
shows and all that
really
stuff.
Awesome.
Well,
I
for
wouldn't
you,
have to watch any of it.
You'd probably have some nails to file because, most of the time when I start talking, I guess Walking Dead or I guess Fear of the Dead or whatever the other show is, I can't think of it. It eludes me at this time. But the point is that you like to file your nails.
When I'm bored with the subject matter, yes. It's not that I like to file my nails over zombies.
Hey, well, before you leave the Netflix
sure,
realm,
go ahead. Take your time.
Is that, recently I saw that this particular thing was posted on Facebook of things that are coming in, and what it had one of the new Klingons from the new show Star Trek
the
Discovery.
The new Klingons, it sounds like a new band name,
The Discovery, and I was like, what? And I want to make sure that people understand that this new show from Paramount or CBS or whoever you want to say
CBS
it's from.
Paramount.
Yeah, that it's going to be on their access channel that on the internet that you can buy. And it's not going to be on Netflix here domestically in the United States.
Even though it says it is.
Well, it is going to be in elsewhere in the whole world where you can watch it on Netflix. But it will not be here in the United States.
On Netflix.
On Netflix. And I think Canada is a little bit different. They're going to have some kind of special thing. Maybe our resident media expert, Dennis, can post where it's going to be.
Why is Canada so special?
Well, I mean...
special privileges.
Well, they're great. They're a great bunch of people. We love them. It's all about the Canadians. So anyway, I just wanted to dispel that thing about the Star Trek Discovery being on Netflix. It's not. If you want to watch it, you can buy it on the CBS Access thing, or you can wait until it's bootlegged. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Bootlegged, yeah. I have nothing to say about it because
I know.
I'm not going to watch it because I'm not paying extra for that crap, and I don't like the way they handled the fan thing. And
yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. Is
I'm just sort of over it.
We love Trek. Don't get us wrong. Wouldn't you agree, Surlana? Yes, you agree. Yes, we love Trek. Yes, and the thing is that I just feel. The way they handled the Axanar thing, whether you believe one way or another about the Axanar situation, good or bad. Just the way the fan base was handled in that situation really just left a sour taste in our mouth. And just pick your moment, whether it be when J.J. Abrams said, "Hey, yeah, the court case is going away, yada, yada, yada." Ha ha!
Birdman.
Birdman. So, it's going away, and to whatever you want to pick out of that whole mess, then, take your pick and draw your conclusions. At the very end of the day, apparently Paramount or CBS doesn't care about the fans, because if they did, they'd listen to them, and then it would be a much different story. That's my. Hold on, I'm slacking, Kay. I know. I'm sorry, but here you go. So that gets my goat.
Sorry, I had to type something. So I think that OMD has a new album out.
Really?
Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark.
Man, they haven't had something new out in quite some time.
Well, 2013 they did. Yeah. I didn't know that.
I
didn't know that either. OMD examines the complications of progress on the punishment of luxury. So I think that's the name of it, the punishment of luxury. I didn't realize this, but they were formed in 1978 as a duo. They opened for Joy Division and Gary Newman in the early days. They distinguished themselves through their use of then cutting-edge technologies. When synthesizers became the norm, they pushed boundaries, and they had more austere synth pop sound on that Enola Gay. Mm-hmm. They were kind of experimental.
If You Leave was another good song.
Then they had that plush sounds epitomized the Pretty in Pink prom jam, If You Leave, which I thought was... Yeah, that was OMD. And I guess the future caught up with them, and they... Yeah, kind of...
But they had some great hits that, that were... not mainstream out there, but yet had the fabric of the 80s. And so it was definitely, like I can think of another song, Dreaming was another one of my favorites.
I'm laughing at you, and I'll explain later.
Oh, okay. I can't wait until, I always love our moments when you explain things later. But anyway, yeah.
You're just on it.
Am I really?
Yeah, it's funny.
Okay, well, I mean, OMD is, great group. I mean, Electricity was a good song. I enjoyed.
Electricity.
Yeah, and then Dreaming, and then the B-side to Dreaming was Secret. Yeah, so I mean, they definitely had
some good ones.
They had some good ones.
They're slightly more obscure beyond the top 40 they had.
Yeah.
If you don't know anything beyond If You Leave, that's a shame. Which is still a good song. I still listen to it. I still like it, but what they've got out now are more quasi-industrial, robotic, jazzercise, art eats art, craft working.
Well, that's right up.
Focused.
That's still right up my alley too. But,
lullaby like synth lattice work. Just I love the way people describe music. I mean, if you don't know these genres, you're like, what? They have traces of their early influences with Yaz and some other bands I've never heard of. So
we encourage you to, if you've not dipped your toe into the OMD pond, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark.
That's what it stands for.
Yeah, and basically...
The Punishment of Luxury is their latest. Yeah. And AV Club gives it a B+ rating.
Well, I look forward to listening to
they've this. It's on YouTube, Vivo, if you look it up.
Also, it's definitely on Spotify, if you are on
sure.
Spotify.
Well, if you don't Spotify, there's always YouTube, because everybody can get to YouTube. So,
but yeah, if you get a chance, some of their top songs to listen to is "If You Leave," Enola Gay, "So in Love," "Electricity." Enola Gay again is definitely one of their mainstream. When you think of OMD, Enola Gay does pop out in my mind. But Secret is one of my favorite songs from them. But anyway, hey, look, Surlana. Wow,
is it time?
We're cruising to the bottom of the hour. So
all right, we've got more lighter-hearted things.
Yeah, so don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. right, we're back, and pardon the back and forth we're about to do right here. So, is there a trailer? I'm going to click it, but I tell you, if I click it, it's going to spell doomsday for...
I can't vouch because I don't hear things on this computer. You've got it.
Okay,
you've got it rigged.
It didn't auto-play. Okay, good.
It did not auto-play.
Oh, okay, even better. There's a thing at the top. I can turn it into a document versus... Anyway, so... Go ahead, Surlana.
No, I was wondering if you had anything to say about the latest. You like that animated Star Wars Rebels, is it?
It is Rebels, and I've been a big fan. This kind of all started when I started watching Star Wars Clone Wars, and the animation is very similar. It's computer animated, and this is going to be the fourth and final season of Star Wars Rebels, which takes place leading up to pretty much, I think,
Rogue One,
I believe.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
This whole 4-season thing has been a prequel trilogy, if you will. And we all knew that it wasn't going to be a happy ending, so because it ends, Rogue One being like, oh no, everybody dies. Spoilers, sorry if you haven't seen it. Well, you should have seen it. And but Rebels has been great because it's followed the crew of the Ghost, and I just don't want to give too much away in the sense that if you saw Rogue One. There's a few characters in that point back to this show that has been on. And I'm excited. It's the fourth and final one. And I don't know what they have planned after this, if they're going to do another Star Wars animated thing. But I have enjoyed it immensely. And basically the fourth and final season with an hour-long premiere will be on October 16th.
Well, I'm pleased for you because
you'll know where
I know where you'll be, and you'll be distracted and won't care what I'm doing. So, usual story. Let's see what else I've got for you here.
As she's looking.
Oh, trying to get into gaming news. This is really interesting. I did read this one. Check this out. Nintendo loses $10 million lawsuit over Wii remote technology.
Really?
Can you believe it?
So they didn't come up with that, or is that?
No, they didn't.
Who did they take it
from?
I'm listening.
So when that all came out the first time, the Wii, the Wiimote, basically says, this article says they were just basically printing money at Nintendo. And it looks like whatever monkey's paw that made that happen is tables are turning. So I'm looking at AV Club again.
Yeah.
So Rolling Stone's Glixel section, which I don't know because I don't read Rolling Stone, Nintendo, according to them, Nintendo has just lost the $10 million lawsuit against a company called iLife. I-L-I-F-E, iLife. A jury ruled that the video game company had infringed on iLife's motion sensing accelerometer technology. Now, iLife made this technology to prevent sudden infant death syndrome and for to help elderly watch out for falls. So I'm guessing it has to do with motion sensor technology. And it argued that the technology could be used for quote-unquote other applications like, Wii remotes. So Nintendo's planning to fight it, though. They says they don't want to infringe on iLife's patent, even if the patent is invalid because it wasn't properly written. But Nintendo will be taking this to Court of Appeals, and they'll try to get it negated or reversed. Sorry. I sound like Chaucer, don't I? Try to get their $10 million back. So if things don't work out for Super Mario, and they may have to just rest on the fact that iLife was originally seeking $4 per unit royalty on all of Wii console sales prior to the lawsuit, which would have been a lot more than $10 million. So, what do you make of that?
That is, some degree it's not surprising, but because you get a lot of these things where you have a product that's been out for a while, and then all of a sudden, hey, you stole my technology. I can see how it could be possible, and if indeed Nintendo messed up, then they should pay the price. Now, I hate to kind of hijack this because I want to get into this, and because it's a fringe topic, and I know that our space cadets always get interested in our fringe topics. The thing is that, and I know there's going to be a few people that chime in on this one. Dr. Stephen Greer.
Oh boy.
Now, do you want to give us a little history behind him, and then?
Well, here's what I know. I'm not saying this is maybe this is like the mental Wikipedia version. I'm not saying I know. I'm not the end-all be-all authority on this guy. But for those of you listening and don't know, I know there's at least one. He's a medical doctor. As he said, I'm just a simple country doctor. In North Carolina, Virginia, one of those southern states on the coast there. And he said he had felt this calling to get into the ufology field, and he'd been in contact since he was a youngster with these aliens, and he feels like he went into, he's an ER doctor, he got married, had kids, and he was following that path, and then something was pushing him toward disclosure about, aliens are real. And he got into it, and he got to know some heads of state, talked to FBI, he's briefed CIA, he's briefed president's staff, he's talked to the Crown Prince of, is it Luxembourg or something like that? He
interviewed multitudes of witnesses.
Yes, but he's known for having these these big expeditions out to UFO hotspots and summoning and vectoring in aliens for you to watch at a price, at a cost. And he's had we've heard some things through back channeling, and I ain't going to name names or tell you where we've heard it, about what some people's feeling in the community from other big names. Think about him and his practices and the way he presents himself, and he said one thing and he does another. But so I don't really know about that, but I've listened to him before, and the only thing I came away with is that I do think he's dead on the money when it comes to 0-point technology. I think that our government knows about it. They have it. I think they know it works, and they don't want us to have anything to do with it because it's not profitable. And it would change the world for the good and take our reliance on the grid. It would remove us from the grid. And if we can't be controlled through power and electricity and all these things we need, then they can't control us. So that's basically.
Well, and I agree with you. It's it kind of goes back to, when we were talking to Carrie Cassidy, and I asked her about how, the community as a whole, people, fighting against each other, and, kind of a fractured community, if you will, on the various topics in the French community. And, there is definitely a sense that people have been looking at Dr. Stephen Greer as it's just about the money now, and he's not really, how many times do you have to cry wolf, and all that, and really kind of negative. And in full disclosure, Spaceboy Universe has tried to get Mr. Greer or Dr. Greer on, and we've not heard back from him. And we're not saddened by it. We would just love to get him on and get his take. And
anytime someone doesn't respond or says no to us, I just think it's their loss, not ours. So.
Well, and true, it is their loss, because we like
we're
to think
freaking awesome.
We like. It's always wonderful to see you with such positivity, and it just warms my heart so deep inside. It makes me want to cry. Anyway, so the thing is that, we've seen him go on another program that we have watched, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. Just know that
it doesn't have the best reputation.
It's a YouTube channel,
and it's not. It's probably not what you're thinking. It's a different one.
I will tell you that it's not Third Phase of Moon.
No, this is a different one.
Yeah, it's a different one, and
that's all we're going to say.
And that's all we're going to say. That basically he's gone on this channel, and he was interviewed by the person of this channel. And the channel doesn't have a very good reputation as far as when it comes to videos in general. It's more clickbait than anything. And it's really sad because initially when that channel, we started initially watching the channel, we thought, hey, we had some pretty good high hopes. It looked pretty good. And we tried to get them on Spaceboy Universe, and they declined. No biggie. We get it. They're lost once again. But the thing is that why Stephen Greer, after he's gone to different other programs, more credible than
why? And then I was like,
maybe
I don't want.
And then when we hear all this information about the negativity that's going on out there against Dr. Greer, it just gets you to the point. It makes you But as we always do at Spaceboy Universe, is that we search for the truth here, and ultimately, at some point, we're going to gather information and present it to you for you to make a decision and go out there and find your own information.
I don't know. I've never met the man in person. I don't know him. We don't know him personally, so we can't really say one way or another. I'm just telling you what I recently read in an article. I think Dennis even posted this on his personal Facebook. What someone said about him going on these expeditions where he charges you money, and that he's never made any breakthrough discoveries where he's like, yeah, here's definitive proof, here's the alien. He's never had any viral discoveries out there. And now this site did take one of the photos and said this so-called light being is actually a wood moth. And I'm like, yeah, okay. That's one example. That's like seeing quote-unquote orbs when they're just reflections of dust on your camera light. But I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I have listened to him before. I do believe him about black budgets and some things that go on with our government, and that the government's not on our side. They're not really about, they're more about keeping us under their thumb. But as to the stuff about aliens and then charging this, he draws huge crowds. I've seen him.
Well, he has very slick presentations, and I guess the stuff. It's very easy to not be engaged into the presentation and the information he has to present, because it's very well done. It's a product that is well packaged, and
he's gotten good at public speaking. So
he has his backstory, being able to contact extraterrestrials through his mind power and meditation. The whole story behind him is just fascinating. That's a good reason why we wanted him on, just for the aspect of that. But at the end of the day, you don't know, and things keep piling up, and you start to question. Which I feel frustrated in this stuff in the community, where we get these stories between like him, Corey Good, and
now on the other
side
when we had on Daryl Sims, we didn't know him, but we kind of felt like we could play devil's advocate. Like, what do you say when people come at you and say, well, you're this, that, and the other, and you're not genuine in that. So we knew we could go there with him. Probably because he's a Texan. Maybe, we made some presumptions there. He seemed to take a shine to us, but haven't been back down there. But
at some point we
will.
Yeah, get back up with him.
We've had so much going on. But I don't know. It's not just Greer. I think a lot of them go through this. They go through the ringer of like, oh, you're this and you're that, and you're not, it's just, I don't know what to make of it. It's not like I was an acolyte of his or a follower or a worshiper or gung-ho. It's just like, if your story is interesting, I don't really care if it's true or not, because I can take it as a work of fiction. Like I just read a sci-fi story. Like, that's really interesting. If that was true, that would be amazing. If it's not, it's still a heck of a story. But if you're trying to sell me something based on that and take money off me, you know,
Right.
I'm probably not going to buy into it. So, or if you're just trying to say, here's what happened to me, take it as you want.
And don't get me wrong, because there are some good people out there that need to get their information into a book form and to promote their books. But I don't know. Give me a second here. I got a cough. There we go. Pardon me, everyone. Let's talk. Let's bring up Stan Romanek. I mean, here's clearly a story that he's been painted in a bad light, and basically his story really tells his tale, and it's hard to believe that he would do, the picture things that he's being accused of. Now he's been found guilty of, but it's like. I mean, where do you go on all that?
Mm-hmm. Well, you and I have decided opinions about that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we don't know, but he's never tried to sell you something. He just told you his story. Now, he sold books on it, but to prove to you he's not after a profit, they took him down from Amazon.
Right.
They took them all down.
And, and then we're not saying that Greer should not make any money off of what he's doing, because if that's the sole thing that he's doing...
But he has a career to fall back on. He's a doctor.
Yeah, but...
I'm not going to cry for him.
Surlana, it's like this. If you're doing something full-time and you want to make a living out of it, I'm not in any way trying to badmouth him in that situation. Mm-hmm. Where I have a problem with that is that, when you hang around bad apples, it's going to look bad upon you, is what I'm getting at. And in the case that, we brought up the fact, I'm not pissed over the fact that he hasn't come on our show, even though we've reached out to him. I'm just, I'm disappointed that he's hanging out with somebody that we know or have been interviewed by somebody that I quite frankly think he's a hoaxer. And puts videos out there to clickbait only to make a profit off of YouTube. And that's what gets my...
He's not the only one, though.
Hold on. Let me get this for Kay. And that's what gets my goat.
Sorry,
and
Michelle.
There's a lot of goat getting tonight, and I apologize about that. But that's I'm just worked up over that. At the end, if he was to say, hey, let's do a show together, I'm open to it. I give him every opportunity to tell his side of the thing, and that's all that matters at the end of the day is we present the evidence, we present the information.
We don't prevent it, we present it.
I present it, that's what I'm saying. I had a... Anyway, so...
It's all right, you've been batting 1,000 today.
So, at the end of the day, the Greer thing, it is what it is. I mean, I just think that when it comes to the whole alien thing that's out there, disclosure is not going to come from our government, from POTUS or from Congress or landing on the White House lawn. I think disclosure is going to come in the form of individuals that like Travis Walton and people like him that have a story that needs to be told so that the information gets out. So that's my view on disclosure. So. Anyway.
Yeah, I do wonder, though, what prompted that article. Like, why now? Mm-hmm. Why did, that sort of surface? Like I said, what was the circumstances behind somebody's like, I'm going to write an article about this charlatan. I'm like, what? Yeah, I like to know behind the motivations, like what that personal... I don't know what I'm trying to say.
What's their motivation?
Yeah.
Why did they write it? I mean,
I'm not
in
saying
other words,
they're wrong, but I'm like why?
It's like, you wonder
what pushed them to that.
What's their angle? What do they gain out of promoting that part of the story in that way? And, that is true. That's valid. That's something that we, as a show in general, and researchers, and, presenting the evidence to our audience, that we have a kind of an obligation to ourselves to seek out what that angle is and say, hey, this is what we found out. This is where it's coming from. And now you know the rest of the story.
Right. Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I read that article.
And I got to bring this up again. I've told you that me personally, I've felt kind of burnt out on the whole alien thing in general. I mean,
there's no good stories.
I mean, there's no good stories lately.
Well, do I want to get into that now? Or?
But the thing is that I'm sorry, Gene just made me laugh, and I guess it's just I hate the fact that. Well, let me say it this way. I feel more skeptical when it comes to ufology in general than I have. I've been the Mulder person in our relationship where I want to believe. But, I need more evidence. I need, something that that is more solid. And when I see somebody like a Greer or a Corey Good, and I guess the ton of bricks are coming down upon them like they have for some of these guys, that it frustrates me. And because at one end I see, that Dr. Greer has had an opportunity to really hit this out of the park, and it's been kind of a fizzle in a way from my angle, and what I've seen. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm just trying to expect more out of the information I'm looking for, or in my quest for that knowledge. But at the end of the day, I'm just waiting for that knowledge to come, and I'm not seeing it. And that's what I wanted to say. I guess, are you ready to go on to a different tangent? Is the story?
Well, you're in the area.
The zone?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of talk about. Because, we aired the Carrie Cassidy interview we did, but we didn't really get a chance to discuss the contents of some of the things she's talked about. And I was reviewing her, what we should call her oeuvre of
11 years of documentation.
Of videos and whatnot, and the type of things, type of people and subjects she interviewed. Now, I can't remember the gentleman's name. I'm sure if I go to her site, I'll find it. But one of the types of people she's talked to are people who give you some insights on things that you've heard for a long time. Like, what intrigues me is the whole alien / German Nazi connection. Mm-hmm. Because when I sat down and I looked at some, I want to say documentary, because I don't know if it's factual, but it wasn't a fictional account, so it was a pseudo-documentary. But I go back and I really learn about what Germany was doing at the time of World War II and the things they were coming up with, the technology, and it was shown to me that Germany had a technologically advanced military, the most advanced in the world. And how did they get that? How did they get precision bombings and the V-2 rocket and, the Blitzkrieg, that cruise missile? Mm-hmm. How did they find this technology? How did they come up with it? Is it within the realm of human capability and they were just that smart? Or did they have some other kind of help?
A helping hand. And
I don't know if I believe you or not, but it is really fantastic myth. And of course, it makes for great movies and TV shows and fictional books. But so I think, I don't know if it's fact or if they've got secret ancient alien technology, but what has always fascinated me was the fact that, Hitler is all like the perfect German, is such and such foot tall, blonde and blue-eyed. Well, where did he get that notion? Could have been from the tall Nordic aliens, because he was trying to pander to them, get the world ready for them to come in and take over? Mm-hmm. that intrigues me, even if it's not true. But that's an interesting spin on that whole thing. So, some scholars have translated some ancient texts from Hindu Sanskrit into German. And in 1939, it says the German scientists invented their own flying saucer-shaped aircraft called a Hanabu. Is that right?
Not sure about that.
And when they came to power in 1933, the Vril Society encouraged Hitler's henchmen to fund a worldwide search of ancient alternative technologies. This is where it starts sounding like Hellboy, you know.
That and Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Indiana Jones. So it says that, I like the fact that he has henchmen instead of, armies. And so the German scientists and researchers looked all over the planet for texts and relics and, like Holy Grail, Ark of the Covenant thing. Like you said.
The Spear of Destiny?
Yeah. Wolfenstein Spear of Destiny. If you don't know what that is, I cannot help you. So they're saying there's evidence now, more evidence that points to them dealing with alien technology. And I'm just really intrigued by that. Let me just say a quick hi to someone.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because that's also kind of similar to Admiral Byrd's expedition to the South Pole, where they were looking for the Germans' secret base down there in Antarctica. Of course, when they got down there, they seemed to be encountered.
Now, is that where they were supposed to have fled to or ran to after it was all over?
No, I think they were creating a base down there, but
simultaneously.
Yeah, so and then Byrd going down there and encountering strange aircraft and being attacked and had to come back to America and after all that, and so it was led to believe that there was a German/alien base down there.
Yes, I've heard that about some anomalies in the surface. But what intrigues me is not just the supposed alien connection, but how deep the roots go from Nazism, Germany, from that World War II over into modern day, which tell me if you know this is true. German by the name of Johannes Rockefeller arrived in America early in her history and gave rise to a family line that would later finance the Nazi Revolution in Germany, merging their Standard Oil with Nazi-owned and operated IG Farben Chemical, which provided Zyklon B cyanide gas for those death camps. So, following the war, there was evidence to conclude that American corporate fascists secretly owned and operated, sponsoring U.S. presidents, and they would faithfully remove from power Congress, veto orders appointing and rather electing executive branch personnel, creation of several secret agencies operated under security classifications. Even the most powerful congressional overseers were forbidden from acquiring, so they kind of like to have their hands in our government.
It looks like Bob has posted the alleged flying saucer that Germany created.
Not even talking about the bell. We got to the German bell.
In fact,
what do you know about that?
Well, I was going to say, let's take a quick break.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, we're past the break.
No, that's fine.
I kind of on this tangent because it's fascinating.
It is a very fascinating subject, yeah. So, hey, everyone. You're listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network. I am Spaceboy, and who are you?
I'm a chicken nugget.
A chicken nugget with barbecue sauce. Oh, yeah. We'll be back right after this. Yes, you never know what is going on the back of the musical break on our end. And we got into this discussion of Star Trek. Go figure. And
well, you know,
but it's one of our favorite shows that we love a lot. It's Deep Space Nine. The episode is a pale moon in the pale moonlight.
It's September now, right?
Yeah, it's September.
So next month, at the end of the month, will be our anniversary. We usually watch that on our anniversary because we're weird.
It's just become a
also,
thing.
we were married at the Star Trek experience, sorts of things. So anyway, I got on this tangent about alien influencing Nazis. So I'm looking at this, believe it or not, Angel Fire website, which I can't believe is still around.
Wow. So,
but it has some interesting concepts on it that, you said, you know, there's in Antarctica of all places that they believe Adolf Hitler wanted to continue down there to advance their dark technology and underground bases down there. Mm-hmm. And the concentration camps of World War II, whatever they were doing in there, purebred scientists within there, they're alleging they have them down in the Antarctica, which the code name is New Berlin. Mm-hmm. And they were carrying out, of course, mind control and biogenetic experimentation, which I think is where those are some of the concepts that were borrowed for our MK Ultra here in this country. So you see how they've got their fingers in everything, whether directly or indirectly, you know. So they also did development in anti-gravity, which I think that has to do with that Nazi bell. Anti-gravity propulsion, but they didn't. I don't think they quite got it to work, or we would have probably been obliterated. Another thing this site points out is the Roswell incident. They say that few realize the potential Nazi connection there. Now, I don't know if they're talking about, Werner von Braun. For those that don't know, he's one of the, I don't know if we captured him or he gave himself up. We took a bunch of German scientists over here for Operation Paperclip.
Right.
And instead of putting them in jail, we came over here and squeezed them out all their knowledge, and he developed things for us. But it wasn't just rocket propulsion, but also anti-gravity, which was part of their Nazi space projects. And, of course, there's rumors that they reached the moon before the U.S. did. And there's reports that they have bases on the moon, massive Nazi bases called New Schwabenland, you know, in the mountains of Antarctica. So it's little known fact. It says Adolf Hitler read this book by a Rosicrucian, which is Order of the Rosy Cross, Rosicrucian Grandmaster E. Bulwer Lytton. The book was titled The Coming Race, and it was about a subterraneous race that had supernatural technology and were intent on one day claiming the surface world for their own. So he might have been influenced by that to go on some kind of idiotic campaign like he did. He had a fascination for occult and mystic tales, like the Buddhist transition of the vast underground world called Agharti, and the Hindu legends of reptilian cavern world called Patalas. So he had some freaky beliefs that might have influenced him. I don't know, but he was obsessed with that novel, The Coming Race, to a fanatical point, and the prospect of an imminent underground invasion of the surface world in the future. And he wanted to make alliances with races. Once they merged, he could rule the earth in joint capacity. So, you know, it does make you wonder. Now, the theory is that these underground beings consist of three main types. Human, which are like sorcerers. Reptilian humanoids that branch off from an ancient raptor-type bipedal sauron species who bypassed extinction by escaping into underground caverns. And also the short grayish cybernetic drones. Now, I don't know if this is like the Greys, we all know, but there's also a possible Nazi alien connection collaboration in underground base near, of all places, Denver, Colorado airport. I'm going to do a show on that, but I've been cautioned, maybe don't do that. But I don't know why. All that's out there for anybody to look at, so I'm very tempted to do it anyway. So they also said Nazi reptilian collaboration existed beneath the Giza Plateau of Egypt, which is a cross between the Stargate and Raiders of the Lost Ark scenarios, which is like you were talking about. So I just think that's interesting that, he's got this fascination with, draconian-like beings. So it says that Nazis established a collaboration with these Dracos that led to the genetic engineering of a Nazi personnel similar to blonde Aryans, but have draconian characteristics like 4 fingers, telepathic abilities, and other hybridization, which is pretty freaky stuff. And it's stuff I had never heard before looking into this. And I know that Carrie Cassidy talked to somebody on this subject matter. I can't remember the gentleman's name. So, but that fascinates me. And you said, in Antarctica, it gets pretty crazy after this. They're saying, in some cases, some sources say, Nazi collaborators in Antarctica were themselves taken over by reptilian poltergeists. It gets crazy. It's like a reptilian parasite. Like, okay, have you ever seen the movie or the TV show Stargate? How they have that, what's it called? Thing that you put inside you.
I can't believe I can't remember what.
And you can be yourself, but they can also take you over.
Oh man, why can't it? Even what?
I gotta say hi to somebody in
chat. I appreciate you just dropping that into my lap, and
Goa'uld, yeah.
But yes, the guy. Yes,
I knew it was something freaky sounding. So they're saying some of that stuff we see in TV and movies is supposedly based on things that actually happen. That's where they get that story from.
And see, part of me that's kind of bothered by that is that one could say that the whole this is all made up because they based it upon this and they based it upon that.
Which came first?
Yeah, which came first?
The chicken or the Nazi? But I just thought that was... I'd never seen this much information in one web page. And, of course, it's a clear violation of all good UI, UX. You've got a peach background with black text and lime green links. But if you get past that, fine. Okay, like I was saying, they collaborated in Egypt, where one of these poltergeist entities took over the body of an Egyptian boy. Does that sound familiar again? And they suggest that these reptilians who exist on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th density, I have no idea what that means, reside underground. So could Hitler's expeditions to these other parts of the globe be the search for these caverns, mines, and tunnels where these dudes live? I don't know. I would like to look into that. Is anybody written or talked about what Hitler had going on outside of Germany during that time? Did he send people out to go find things? And is there any evidence of that? So, there's a lot of questions that this site poses. It's really interesting. The person writing this article says, a friend of mine from Canada speaks of an underground facility somewhere in Nevada, according to Val Valerian, which I learned about. He says he couldn't find a Paradox, Nevada, but he found a Paradise, Nevada, and a Paradox, Colorado, so perhaps there might be some confusion there. But anyway, this facility serves as a terminal between the surface and alien caverns below, and this base is jointly occupied by poltergeist-like semi-transparent beings, Dracos, Syrians, and several German Nazis. I'm guessing this must be third, fourth, fifth generation Nazis. The Nazis were told to use human children abducted from the surface to indulge their twisted perversions, and the Syrians, which is Sirian, as from Sirius, I guess, the star, not the Syria here on Earth. They use children for genetic research and the Dracos for sustenance. It's a literal hell beneath Earth, which sounds to me like Dulce, but this is supposed to be in Nevada. Now, I guess they're fascinated with this these tunnel and under cavern worlds. I don't know who the Murians were, but supposedly the Atlanteans left a bunch of these below surface structures. German tourists were all over New Mexico exploring caves and mines and buying up property and engaging in other kinds of weird activity in the early 1930s and 1940s, which is weird, and maybe involved with Dulce scenario. One story suggests that it describes an underground hellhole that is occupied by Dracos and a master race of Aryan-like people who are products of Hitler's master race genetics program. And they think that Nightmare Hall in Dulce is what this is, or it's connected to it somehow. So it's very strange. Oh, hey, Eric. But...
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. Nobody knows what we're talking about. Now, here is a great name for your next band. I'll give this to you for free. Cavern Dwelling Fascists. Write that down. You can have that for free. Infiltrated multi-million-dollar black budget underground empire network of biogenetic labs, anti-gravity craft hangars, mind control research facilities, which is named by, you can have this one too, fascist cabal, which controls much of the military-industrial complex, and it's increasingly being contested by left-wing politics who are trying to establish their own underground operations in the USA. So you've got like two factions of underground fighting, which none of it's for our benefit. And I mean, this thing just goes on and on and on. So really fascinating stuff to me there. So just that was a little tangent. Anything do you want to say on that?
No, I mean, it's an interesting subject matter. Maybe we can... It sounds like we got a few shows that we can do in there. Definitely going back to the Carrie Cassidy thing to tie this all back in. Mm-hmm. A lot of fascinating stories from Carrie, and one, I was excited to finally get to talk to her. And some of the things, I think she's got something up there right now with Phil Schneider.
Yes, she does.
And which is really an interesting subject matter, and which ties into the Dulce Wars. And then, of course, the countless other guests that she's had on. It was quite a pleasure to get a chance to talk to her. And hopefully we'll, reach out to her again in the future to pick her brain, so to speak, because it's just a wealth of information that's out there that,
I learned about something I never heard about while it was up. Soon as our electricity came back on, and you were still out in the van, I was watching or listening to this thing about Val Valiant, who was a Venusian that came here and tried to guide humanity into a better way of living, and even went so far as to meet I can't remember which president it was Eisenhower or what. I want to say this is the 50s or 60s.
I think it was Eisenhower.
Yeah. And he seemed like, according to the story, he convinced them. But he looked human, and he had a few other people from his ship come down with him, like a male and a female, and they looked human. But I had never heard that story before.
Really?
Yeah, that was fascinating to me. And I'm like, how do they exist on Venus? Isn't it
hot
and gaseous?
The pressure of the, it's like a cooker pressure. Well, it's a greenhouse effect, basically. Mm-hmm. Venus is...
Valiant Thor, that's right, Dennis. Yes.
Venus is very similar in shape and size to Earth. The problem is that it rains acidic rain, and the temperatures on the surface are around 700 degrees. And that's not necessarily because it's closer to the sun. It's because the greenhouse effect generates all that heat. It traps all that heat and radiation within the atmosphere of the planet, and so.
But I had never heard of him before. I think I looked it up because I want to know more. I saw a photo of him, and he's decent looking. And I want to say Phil Schneider talked about him too. That's why you mentioned Phil. That kind of triggered. And another guy met him, Frank E. Stranger. That was his name, Stranges. Dr. Stranges. He was a Christian preacher and founder. And he was a UFO hunter, too, and a freelance private investigator. It's like, how can you be all three at the same time? He was famous for being an extensive author on the subject of alien intervention, and used his evangelical organization to publish his UFO literature, which is odd, to say the least. But he met Val Valiant Thor. Did he give himself that name? I don't know. But anyway, Strangers wrote this book called Saucerama in 1959 when he met this woman, or this woman approached him, Nancy Warren. She was a Pentagon insider, and she gave him a chance to go meet Val, and so he did. And he met his crew members, Jill, Don, and Tanya. That can't be their real names. It's just so... But he got to talk to him through quick thought transference, and really interesting story. He met, as you said, Eisenhower and Richard Nixon. I saw pictures of Richard Nixon when he was young, and I was like, wow, I'd never seen him that young.
I believe Eisenhower's vice president was Richard Nixon.
Yeah, Bob just posted this on Twitter of Val Valiant Thor. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at this photo of the Val Thor. He never went by Thor, so not to be confused with, what we got today. He saved... Dr. Strange said that Val saved his life on 3 occasions and allow him to continue preaching the galactic word of Jesus. Now, it intersects with the Ballad of Phil Schneider, as they call. His father, Oscar Schneider, met and worked with Valiant and even photographed him on lecture tours. So I think Phil Schneider had some insight to this guy. They've got a photo of him supposedly showing Oscar Schneider sitting behind Val on board the USS Eldridge. And if that sounds familiar to you, the ship you remember from the Philadelphia experiment, from, Al Bielek's, testimony. So, but the picture of Phil is always showing a gray-haired man sitting in front of his father, bears no resemblance to the one leaked in 55 of a Cary Grant-looking Val, so I don't know, there might be some discrepancy there. So, I don't know, I might look more into that because I've never heard of it before, and I'm kind of fascinated by that.
Well, definitely.
And he apparently got people believing he was from Venus.
So, it sounds to me like what would be great if you could put together a little information and packet, and then let's present it to the audience. A subject matter you're not familiar with, and it is a fascinating read about that man. And so let's work something into our schedule in the coming weeks.
As we're trying to find people to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all good in the neighborhood. So, but yeah, once again, recapping, Carrie Cassidy, a very fascinating individual, and to some polarizing. She is very strong-willed, and she doesn't have a problem to tell you how she feels about certain subject matters, and and
I admire that. I wish I could get to that level of in your face, I don't care what you think type of thing.
So, Surlana.
What?
I'm glad you said that. Let's take our final break as we go into the final 30 minutes of the game here. And when we come back, we will talk more about the universe known as Spaceboy Universe. Yep, that's the thing that tells us that the lines are open. It's 713-701-5214. Tonight we're not using the 800 number, but if you want to call our Skype line, the Skype line is open, 713-701-5214. Call us, and we can go from there. So anyway,
you can talk about.
Are you going to ask us questions about the hurricane?
Well,
or
yeah.
You can ask us questions about what we've been talking about on everything else. It's pretty much open lines. So, just go ahead and chime in if you want to.
Now, Spaceboy, did you want to say anything about things you're watching? Like you went on and on about this movie Chef. And I was laughing at you because I didn't care. And you went on about Narcos.
That is exactly like you. When I find something interesting to talk about to you, you just...
Well, it's just that... You wouldn't give up. You just kept going and going and going and going. You also been watching The Tick. There's 3 things you could comment on before I start something else.
Well, one, yes, I did watch The Tick. I thought it was a decent version of watching The Tick, and I've enjoyed it. And there's supposed to be a few more episodes out there haven't been posted yet that I know of. So I have been waiting for Narcos to come back. It is back. I've gotten through 2 episodes so far, and I'm enjoying that immensely. I did watch this movie called Chef, and I'm not going to bore you about it because apparently Sherilyn...
not supposed to say real names.
Apparently, I'm
No.
sorry, I got frustrated. My bad. Apparently Surlana... See what you did to me?
I get so flustered, you actually called me out for real.
I mean, you're tearing this marriage apart, dear.
Well, it was bound to happen sooner or later.
I mean, so anyway, I've been watching some content. I've got September brings shows we haven't seen. Oh, I forgot about Halt and Catch Fire. Man, I can't believe that is back. And as you go to Nail Town to file your nails down, and I see you looking over there for a nail filer.
I sit in another room because I had
So the thing is that Halt and Catch Fire, love that. It's the final season. AMC graciously decided to let one more season go by, and so it is what it is. So I'm trying to think of what else I've been watching. I still haven't watched Game of Thrones yet. I'm saving that until it's completely
Funny
done.
you should mention that.
And I'm waiting on that. I'm sure it's a good show, and I'll get into it. But I think there comes a show every once in a while where I will purposely not watch it and wait until it completes now, and then have a day of. A day. You need more than a day on that. I mean, like for example, in Navy CSI. The other show I've binge watched through, and I know it drives you crazy, but 14 seasons worth of shows, you can't beat that with a stick.
Again, I know where you are, I know what you're doing.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty much I'm sitting there in front of the TV with my head cocked to the side like Forrest Gump, watching TV and digesting all that information. But so currently I think the show that I'm really rocking right now, Halt and Catch Fire, is one of my favorites. And then, of course, the Narcos. I'm glad that's back. Something good, a dramatic show to watch, and so it's all good in the neighborhood. And as other shows come along, I will continue to watch and get into them.
Trying to find this link, I can't find it, but I read the article. So, you mentioned Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. You're going to watch it someday. I'm not going to watch it because it's not my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. And yes, I do kind of know what it's about because you can't avoid it. It's everywhere. It's like the most watched show on. I don't know. Is there such a thing as TV cable anymore? But it's as a TV show, it's the most watched one, I think. Mm-hmm. So I looked at this link, and I think Dennis posted it, and I can't find it again, but that's all right. I read it, and guess what the second most watched TV show is right now?
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty. And yeah, we're going to talk about it. And if you don't listen to it, get out your own nail file. I encourage you.
The show keeps getting
darker. They said it was going to get dark in the season 3 premiere. It's like, oh, it's going to get darker. It's going to be ready for the darkest season of our lives. And they have delivered, and I had been talking to my brother this weekend on the phone because he was actually concerned. He actually called me. So we were chit-chatting about other stuff, and he said his kids, who are, I guess, under the age of 11, I think, this would be my niece and nephew, watch Rick and Morty. I said, you let your kids watch Rick and Morty? He's like, yeah, why? I said, it's not for kids. It's on Adult Swim on Cartoon Network, and it was never intended for children. It's probably not even good for adults at this point, but it's just... Of course, we don't watch anime, so maybe this is a false statement, but it's the darkest, most twisted animated thing I've ever seen outside of, I guess, anime, because this is just straight American animation. But, it's really dark. This last one we watched, they were so stressed out with their adventures, they went to an alien spa and got detoxified mentally, and everything that's toxic about their personalities got pulled out and became a separate entity and got held in a toxic chamber where they were trapped and they became better versions of themselves. It was just really weird how Morty, the 14-year-old, all his self-doubt and inhibitions were removed, and he became like this successful stockbroker with this smoking hot girlfriend who's an adult. You know, he's still 14, and and then, you know, I guess Rick becomes polite and more thoughtful and concerned about things, and it's just really... You'd have to watch the show to know how really jaw-dropping some of this stuff is, but how does Skype work? How do I dial from Skype? Well, you can just use your regular phone to dial our Skype number.
Yeah, just dial the numbers.
If you don't want to bother with Skype.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put the number in there again in case somebody...
And, you know, as we start to get back into the thick of things, you know, Korea is definitely an interesting subject matter that is worthy to talk about. I had been thinking about doing I don't mean to change the subject matter.
No, it's fine.
I see Gene
I'm fine.
was mentioning Korea.
Gene's going to bed.
Yeah, and I'm really thinking about doing a show on Korea itself. And, you know...
the only thing I've seen about it is I know that they're poised and ready. They sent a test, and I don't know if this is real, but I think South Korea's had enough.
Well, I mean, they've had enough. The problem is that, you know, South Korea and North Korea are kind of joined at the hip.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they kind of can't get away from each other.
Exactly. I mean, you do have family members that live north and south and of both.
Reminds me of East and West Germany. You know,
that is a good example. The Civil War, where you had people from the north and the south, brothers and sisters fighting against each other. The thing is that in the Korea situation is that you know, the war that was fought with Korea never ended. It ended. Well, I'm back up here for a second. It was kind of a ceasefire, if you will, and putting it in generic terms right now. And a show would better suit giving you the knowledge and the information on that. But you know, at any moment, you know, the conflict can heat back up, and North Korea could just walk their happy rear ends down into South Korea if they wanted to. North Koreans have been in a state of preparing for war for decades. I mean, when you watch the videos of that country, you see many people that are a part of the military, and they're ready to go to war. They fear the United States severely. To a point where
it's not the impression they're giving.
They paint us as how can I put this? And this great country of, and when I say great, more of like in size, ready to pounce down on them because, you know, Kim Jong-un, I believe is his name, is no joke in the sense that he's seen what has happened to Gaddafi. He's seen what has happened to Saddam, where they give up the nuclear power kind of card for their countries, and then ultimately what happens to them? They get killed. So he does not want to relinquish his nuclear capabilities, and that plays into a part too. So it is a fascinating read and subject matter, and at some point, you know, I have been thinking about falling back to a history show, if you will, about the North Koreans and all that, and how that has all transpired. So at some point, we'll dive into the history of Korea in general, and you know, go from there.
That sounds interesting. Mm-hmm. That's something I should educate myself on. So.
Well, like I said, it's a...
If nothing else, I'll get something out of it if you don't.
Historically, you know, it's been going on for a long time. And regardless of your politics on the matter, you know, it's a country that, you know, they're poised. They're ready. They train for war. They're ready, you know, to do it.
Again, Well, he doesn't have him doing anything else. He won't let him do anything else.
Well, you know, that
right?
country is suffering economically. Their people are not getting the necessities that we take for granted here. And he paints that country, in a light that is false. Mm-hmm. And of course, there are camps that people get sent to for various infractions. And I don't want to go too far into the subject matter. Like I said, I want to give it some justice and give it a little bit of history behind it, so that the Space Cadets can, know where all this angst is coming from, and why we are in this point in history. In order to know where we're at, we need to know where we've been, so we know where we're going. So we'll talk about this on another show and enlighten the cadets.
Oh, we've got another subject that might be more important to do, too. I'll just keep it to myself for now. Very relevant to our situation, let's just say.
Oh?
Yeah.
Is it the subject that Miss Michelle might have mentioned?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that'll be a good show, too. We're looking into that. We'll see if we can reach out for a guest on that subject, and then present that, because that's pretty interesting.
Topic.
It's an interesting topic that is relevant to regardless who's the president or who's in control of the United States. It's relevant to the conditions of the world and the state we're in. What if we have a collapse, or what if we're have another major storm or an earthquake or a fire, if you will? It's things that are relevant to this very day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bob, I think I might agree on that matter. China does have a big say in North Korea's future, and I'm sure they won't hesitate to deal with them appropriately if they jack with America's interest. Because, let's face it, China has a big interest in America, and that's a whole other thing altogether.
Hey, we got a phone call.
All right.
And I know who it is.
Who is it?
Are you there, Eric?
Hello.
Hey, Eric. How are you, sir?
Probably doing better than you guys are. I heard you had some rough days there.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, but there's people who have it way, way worse than us.
And we try to keep that in perspective. I mean, things have been bad for us, but there are people that don't
lost everything.
They've lost everything, and it's sad. But
we've just been irritated. That's all.
And then I hear that. I saw it's horrible. I mean, you're kind of lucky, I guess. If you lived in a different part of town, it might have been different.
Mm.
Well, we got really close, and then we would catch these breaks in the bands of the hurricane, and it would give us just enough time to drain a little bit of water before it dumped it all again, and we get within 4 inches of the house, and then it would go back down, and then it'd come back up, and it was just like I didn't sleep for 48 hours.
Yeah, we were pretty.
Oh, so you were monitoring this?
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
We slept in shifts. Yeah, I said, you go to sleep.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the water came within 4 inches of our front and back door. I mean, it was that close.
Wow.
Yeah. We were.
So if you'd fallen asleep, if you'd fallen asleep and slept for 8 hours or whatever, you might have been flooded.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't think it's keeping watch kept it away, but
still, you can imagine going to bed and then waking up and then putting your feet down on the ground and it'd be water there. That was something that we wanted to be ready if it got to a point where if we started flooded, we needed to get out of there to get to higher ground, and we were prepared, and we just took shifts to make sure that we both had peace of mind. And quite frankly, I felt like we've already been through another hurricane similar to this, and I slept through it. To be honest with you, the hurricane came and blew through, and it was Ike. But this was different than Ike because
this was water. Ike
it was basically
wind.
Sucking off the Gulf of Mexico and dumping it onto.
You want to rephrase that?
I'm sorry, I should have said something different. Excuse my phrasing. Anyway, it was bringing water from the Gulf of Mexico, and then with the bands of how a hurricane looks, it just one band would drop water, and then you'd have a pause. And thankfully, those pauses between the bands allowed us to kind of let the water go down a little bit and then drain, and then kept it at bay.
Wow. So yeah, I saw a tweet about spiders, and I did see somebody post a picture. I don't know if it was a wolf spider, but it looked
was a
massive.
wolf spider. Well, I think it was bigger in that picture because they were really close to it. But somebody said, I have never seen this spider before, but it's here now. And then another person posted a different one that had all the babies on the body. I was like, ooh. But I guess they are more reclusive creatures. They don't come out unless they are forced out because of all the water. But I keep reminding people, as creepy as they are, if we didn't have spiders, we would be overrun with insects. Another kind of casualty of this is a bat colony that hangs out under a certain bridge. Some of them did drown, and they were actually trying to save them because the water came up and rose up to the overpass, and they couldn't get out. But people are seeing spiders, alligators, moccasin snakes, poisonous snakes, and fish all in their living rooms of flooded homes.
In their living room.
Mm-hmm.
There's several images that have surfaced today of gators. That the water's receded out of some of these houses. That gators are just hanging out in somebody's room, and they have to call somebody to come wrestle the thing out of their house. And there's a video that went out. It's gone viral of the daughters filming her dad running through their living room. It's flooded. And he's chasing a fish, shirtless, in his jeans. And he catches the fish with his bare hands in their living room.
Bizarre. I saw one shot where there was this, it was very sad, it's like an old retirement home for old people. They were all sitting in the living room in halfway water, like up halfway up to their...
I've tweeted and I've retweeted. The update is there's a photo of all the people in that photo, in that nursing home. They're all dry and dressed, and they're sitting in a different nursing home. They were all rescued, and they're all fine.
And that was a fine example of social media actually being positive, because once it was shown on social media, they reacted and got on top of it and got those people taken care of.
And people were using Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, all these sites like, help, my cousin's trapped, my grandmother's on such and such, they can't get out. And that actually was something good rather than just being fear-mongering and putting all these false information. And then people who don't know they're sharing things that are false. They're not trying to be part of the problem. They just don't know. That's another issue out there. But we managed to get a lot of it. And there was lots of heartbreak of people have lost their lives. And that's those 6 people in that van. There was one of a mother who the water came up so fast, she got out of the car with her toddler and tried to get him to safety, but the water swept her away and she drowned and ended up somewhere. And the toddler was still clinging to her. And so the mother passed away, and they got the toddler to, they had hypothermia, got the toddler to a hospital. And that's something people don't understand, even though it's still pretty much summer here, and this was ended up being a tropical storm. The floodwaters were cold. That rain came down, it was cold, so if you hang around in that water, it's not good.
Wow.
For the temperature and the
stuff
that's in it.
There was another picture I saw where people actually pitched, I know you've heard of this, but the listeners, people got tents pitched on top of their roofs.
They had nowhere else to put them. Yeah, they had to. That was the only dry piece left until they could get either taken off a jet ski, boat, a floater, or until the National Guard got here with helicopters and airlifted off of roofs. People came down. There's this YouTube channel called Vet Ranch. They're somewhere outside of Austin, and they've got different vets that work there, and they all do different videos. Like they'll bring in these poor, sad cats, dogs, or whatever, and they work off of donations, and they'll fix them. They get them surgery. They get them rehabilitated and adopted out. And it's really sad, but they ends up usually pretty good. Well, one of the guys on that show, they were going to go camping with his buddy, and he says, well, why don't we just take this? They were completely outfitted for camping. They said, at jet skis, well, let's just go to Houston and volunteer. So they came down and helped out and got recognized down here in Houston. You know, like, I want you on Vet Ranch, and so that was pretty cool.
Wow.
Okay, Gene wants to know about Stan.
He wants to hear about Stan.
Go ahead and talk about that, Eric.
That was the reason why I was calling, because there is an update actually that
I want to
kind of
I was just
do you
going
want
to
to take a break, or do you want to
no? What I was going to say is, if we go along, that's fine, because people have been concerned about us, and then plus, it's just nice hanging out with everybody. We love you, all you guys, and so if we go a little bit long, it's quite all right tonight.
Yeah, go for it, Eric.
Go for it, Eric.
Right on. Well, as you guys know, I think we've talked on. Well, we did talk on your show about it quite a bit, and then we haven't got a chance to talk for about 2 weeks now, right? So
we missed you.
Well, we got canceled totally by last week because of your situation with the storm, and then the week before we had to cancel because John had something come up or whatever. I forget what it was.
Exactly. But
it's all good.
Incidentally, let me just put this out here. John should be back this coming Wednesday on the Quantum Hologram Matrix. So you hologrammers out there that have been jonesing for a little bit of Reverend John Pope action, he will be back on Wednesday night, and we're looking forward to it. He's got some great people to come on, and I know that you're like me, Eric. We can't wait to get him back on the airwaves.
It'll be fun. Yeah, I told John it's his show. We kept the seat warm. Now he's got to kind of run. So I'll go back to my little 15-minute segment. I don't want to be. I like talking to you guys, but talking for 2 hours, you got to have some things in your mind before you get on the radio and just start.
Yeah, we'll go back to being the silent producers.
Yeah, I know. I'll be the pinch hitter in the seventh inning then. But anyway, so here's what's been happening since I left. And I'm home now. I've been home for a while. Actually, I don't know. Did I tell you guys I went to Shasta, Mount Shasta, the Eclipse Conference?
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about
we know you've been doing Johnny Cash. You've been everywhere, man.
It's been nice to be home, but it's looking like since John's in Sedona, it's looking like I might be going there pretty soon here because I've made several new friends in Arizona. So it's like now to go there, I could just see multiple people I've just met and kind of become friendly with, which is cool. It's not too far from California. It's only about 8-hour drive. It's not that big of a deal, really. But anyway, so here's what's going on. Stan Romanek's father, Dr. Stanislav Ojak, super nice, kind man. We talked about him before. He calls me usually 3-4 times a week. If I don't answer, he'll leave a message. We just chat. We'll just chat for like 5 or 10 minutes. We just got along really good. I think I just get this. He kind of looks at me probably like a grandson or a son or something like that, because we just really clicked. It was really interesting when I met him, and I told you this before, but we just seem to think on the same wavelength, and we have similar. Anyway, we're just on the same wavelength, so we stayed in touch. And so whenever I talk to him, we'll talk about everything but Stan usually. And then at the end of the conversation, when we're kind of wrapping it up, I'll always ask him. I'll say, I don't want to bug Stan, but I mean, if you hear anything from Stan that you want to pass along, I'd be nice to hear, but I don't want to be getting in too private, in their business, so to speak. But he always tells me at the time, he says, yeah, for example, he had been talking to Stan, and then there was something had happened where Stan did not return his phone calls for 3 days, which was very unusual, apparently, because that's not their normal relationship where Stan and his father are usually talking. And apparently, then I found, then this was all information that was volunteered. I didn't even have to ask any questions, really. But Stan's best friend, who I met who I even met in Las Vegas, I can't remember. I think his name is Mr. Harrison, but I can't recall. But anyway, Stan's not talking to him. He's not really talking to anybody right now. So I speculated. When he told me that, I speculated, he's probably, trying to figure out what he's going to do with this appeal, because he did appeal the case, and he just wants his space and so on and so forth. And then after I said that, Stanislav says to me, no, that's not it. And I says, what do you mean that's not it? He says, now this is kind of sad news, actually. So I haven't told anybody on the radio this story yet, so you guys are going to be the first ones to hear it. So and I'm not trying to make gossip. This is just so you kind of know what's happening, because I like Stan, and I don't think that he's a pedophile.
And we like him too, and we agree with you.
Yeah, but apparently, okay, this is the tough part. So during the trial, if you recall, I might have told you, that Lisa's stepson, his name is Jack, who actually lived with his sister in Nebraska. But then they came to live with Stan and Lisa in Loveland, Colorado, about 4 years ago, approximately, more or less. Mm-hmm. And during that time, and there's evidence of this. It's not just a story that was told to me. There's voice recordings of this conversation that Stan had with Jack, who was probably 16 or 17 years old at the time that he was living in the house 4 years ago, that Jack was using Stan's computer to look at illegal pictures.
Wow.
So that's where that was coming from, and Stan and Lisa did not know this, but then they discovered, by their surprise, they discovered that there was these illegal pictures on Stan's computer. So that's when Stan called Jack, who had fled, in a sense, to Nebraska when the police came in with the raid and the whole 9 yards. He actually, Jack, the son, the stepson, Lisa's blood son, never actually even got questioned by the police. Neither did his sister, neither did Lisa. The only person that they directly went after was Stan Romanek, because for probably more than one reason, but it was his computer. But you would think a proper investigation would involve questioning all the people that lived in the house, even those that lived in the house that had moved to Nebraska. So in this case, Jack was in Nebraska when all this went down. He had his own laptop computer, and this was introduced in the court where when he found out what was happening with Stan, he took his computer and he blew it up with a shotgun. You remember me telling you that?
No.
You didn't? Okay, I thought I might have told you that. So yeah, that is a fact. That is what happened. The kid had his own laptop, and when he boogied and went back to Nebraska, and then he found out that Stan was being, charged with this crime, that's when he blew up his computer. So right away, my thinking would be, well, why would he do that? There's a lot of reasons you can think, but you could also speculate that if it were him that was looking at the child pornography, that he had it on his computer, he thought if he blew up his computer, that they couldn't come and, get him in trouble.
Right.
And there were no fingerprints taken on that laptop that Stan had in his closet. So there's no, had they taken fingerprints, see, this is all stuff that was never, it was very shoddy police work, and then the trial was a scam, really. I mean, really, the more I think about it, the more information that comes out, it really was a scam. It was like a gift for the bad guys, because they really wanted to get Stan, and the fact that this kid kind of opened the door for that to happen. Anyway, so fast forwarding, so what's happening now is, Stan's pissed, obviously. He knows he didn't do it, but in a sense, what he did is he took one for the team, or he took one for the family, in the sense that because of his love for Lisa and not wanting to, throw the kid under the bus, Stan probably believed that he could beat the case, because for a variety of reasons, they had expert witnesses that were willing to testify that could have probably created reasonable doubt, but that those witnesses, as you remember, 7 of the 10 never got to testify, so he didn't get his opportunity to create reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. So what ended up happening was now it's like, for example, Lisa, I'm sure, and Stan's father, probably others as well, are telling Stan that, okay, you could take a deal. For example, he's already got the one knock on his record. The sentencing, I think, is in October, mm-hmm. and they could give him 0 jail time. That is a possibility, and apparently, when my research, that is usually what happens in a case like this. There is no jail time, and more than 80% of these cases, no jail time. Even though the law states they could give him 2 to 6 years, that's what they could give him, but they can also opt to give him 0. So here's the deal. So if they offer him, okay, Stan, drop your appeal, we're going to sentence you to no jail time. You're going to be on the watch list, obviously, because you have to register, and that's the deal. And so it's either that or he decides to continue to fight it, and he wants his name back, and then if he wins, great, but then that just causes further divide in the family, because if he does go to trial again, he's going to bring all this information out that didn't come out in the first trial, and then so you see what's happening. There's a weird dynamic happening in the family right now, and I feel for Lisa. It's not her fault. I feel for Stan. It's not his fault. The kid, I mean, what are you going to do? You're a kid. You're 16, 17, 18, whatever. I can probably be scared shitless. I mean, he doesn't want to come out and say it was me. So he's hiding in Nebraska. You know what I mean? So the whole thing's really messed up. It's a shame. It's just all a shame. So we'll see. I mean, we're gonna in the next month or two. We'll see the end of this, hopefully. But that's what's happening. That's the newest. That's what apparently happened.
Oh, man.
That explains a lot, Surlana, about how your feelings about when it comes to Lisa, like standing by Stan in that situation, and
she knew it wasn't him.
Right, and so why she, you could tell she was, and when she comes across as saying, "Yeah, I believe in him, and it's not him." So
I know what I'd do in that situation, but I'd be like to the son, "Get help, see a counselor, and tell you do not show your face to me again." That would just be me. But I'm not. That's why I'm not a parent. So. Because I can't make decisions.
Stanislav is a doctor of psychology. I mean, he's a brilliant man. He's at 90. He's still very sharp and brilliant, but and a super good-hearted man. He's a great judge of character. He's psychic also, and so he knows Stan. And he's not the kind of person that would try to stand up for Stan just so that he could say, "No, Stan didn't do it." I mean, if he thought Stan did it, he would be the kind of person that would say, "Yeah, I think there's a chance Stan did it." But he is very adamant that it's just not in Stan's nature. It's not in his makeup to even be like that. That's just not who he is. So people that are on the outside trying to speculate, they need to know those things because to not judge him, you know what I mean? And here's something else that somebody brought up on another show that was I kind of got a little irritated with. Is Stan used to talk at the lectures. I don't know if you guys know that. Years ago, he would go out and talk.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I found out about him.
And initially, in the beginning, and I didn't know this, if you go back and look at the videos, the YouTube videos, you'll see he dressed very nicely, and a lot of times he dressed in a tuxedo. And so one guy made a comment that Stan has a huge ego, and he was trying to impress people, and da-da-da-da-da. And I mentioned that to Stanislav, and he says, no, that's not it. Stan, that is how Stan shows his respect for people. That's how he was raised, to show respect. So if you're going to present your case or your information or your story, you dress professionally, you dress respectfully, and that was how he was taught to be. And so it wasn't his ego trying to impress people with his tuxedo. So I just wanted to get that out there, too.
Mm-hmm. There's people out there who want to criticize every single thing because they're not being paid attention to. So,
and it always goes back with Stan. It's like we've out of the countless documentaries that I know I'm making a word up here. That we've. Thank you very much. It's past my bedtime.
That's what I'm here for.
Thank you, dear. Out of all the countless things that we've seen on Stan. Stan seems like the genuine thing. He doesn't, strike me as someone who is trying to benefit from this. And, as Surlana said earlier
he
today.
He took the books down just to prove it.
Yeah, to prove that it's not about the money. It's, so it's hard for us to find him. There's reasonable doubt in our minds is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. And somebody has gone after him, and they've gone after him hard, and it's a really good setup. Whoever's doing it.
Yeah, well, he's not the only. I mean, as you guys need to go back to guys like. We don't want to open up the can of worms about William Cooper and Philip Snyder, but there's many people. There's a lady, I can't remember her name. There was another doctor. There was a lady that was
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Who was? Yeah, there's been multiple people that were quote unquote whistleblowers that even the mysteriously kind of just passed or whatever. I mean, so it's not. I mean, a lot of times what they do with these people is they try to intimidate them, and if that doesn't work, sometimes they'll actually hurt or kill somebody else in the family or a close friend. And people got to remember this, and this could be researched. Stan's best friend was mysteriously, he says that he murdered, but I mean, I'm just repeating what he said. But if you think about it, you got a friend that you see every day at work or whatever, and then all of a sudden one day you find out he was killed, and it just makes no sense to you at all how that could possibly happen. It's going to raise your suspicions. So, and that's very suspicious that just a normal run-of-the-mill kind of guy suddenly shows up dead, and it happens to be Stan Romanek's best friend. So that was the final warning before this whole thing went down with the child porn and all that.
Well, it doesn't look like the story is over for Stan, but we've always said we've wished him the best, and when he gets through all this, hopefully he can come back to the network and maybe elaborate a little bit more about his story. And when that time comes, we have an open door policy for him. So that's good to hear. Hey, K28 is asking, how is Adam Ambrose? Do you have any word about him?
Yeah, that's trippy. Is that I hadn't heard from him for a lot of months, because he kind of went off Twitter and he went off Skype. And then all of a sudden, just like literally, I don't know, it was a week or two ago, he sent me a tweet and said hi, but I haven't been tweeting with him. Because last time, I remember when Adam's the kind of guy where if you give him too much attention, he gets kind of shy, in the sense, or kind of a gun shy, and then he withdraws, is what he does. He kind of goes, because then what happens is, if he starts talking to me, then he starts talking to somebody else, and before you know it, he's got a lot of people asking him a lot of questions, and then it gets overwhelming for him. So his way of dealing with that is to block everything and just go offline and just, So I'm just trying to do it differently this time, where I'm not, trying to get him to do a radio show or anything like that. But one day, you've heard his story, right? You know who Adam Ambrose is?
Oh, yeah.
John's had him on, right?
Yeah, John has had him on his show, and and I do recognize. I forgot he mentioned something about pulling some information that we had posted, because I guess it was just getting overwhelming for him, and we obliged and took care of that for him, and so I totally understand what you're talking about, and especially in the sense in social media. If you have a good story, and just it's very easy to get thousands of people just to bombard you for questions, and because people are out there, they're wanting to search for the truth, and if you've got a story that rings true to their mindset, then I could see how he could get overwhelmed.
Yeah, his stories. It's a trip. There's so many people. I was just listening before I jumped on this show. I was listening to Sebastian Martin. He was talking on another show, and he's been kind of on hiatus since February, because him and Richard Dolan both were pretty outspoken about their beliefs of Corey Goode, whether they thought Corey Goode was making up his story or whatever. And I think it kind of brought attention to him that he wasn't digging, so he kind of went out and stayed in Canada and didn't do any radio shows or anything like that. But one thing I've learned, here's what I've learned the most from Colorado and from Shasta, is that, okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm on Twitter, I'm reading stories, I'm listening to radio shows, I'm trying to do research, I'm not talking to people like Corey Goode directly, but I'm trying to gather information from people like the Avalon and the Kerry Cassidys and the Bill Ryans and the Dark Journalist, and I can go on and on and on. Mm-hmm. So then you hear these stories and you watch these YouTube videos, and this guy comes on and says, Corey Goode was smoking bowl after bowl, blah 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 blah, and then I come to meet people that were at this party at Contact in the Desert. They're telling me that's not true. That he was not doing that, and I was there the whole time, and none of that happened. And I'm like, "Are you serious? You're not just telling me that?" And So then then now I've got something else to look at. So then when I went to Shasta and I got to hang out, not literally hang out with Corey Good, but I'm in the same room with him. I'm observing him. I'm watching him with his family and looking how the other people that are there in the conference, how they're all interacting with each other, the energy, the vibe. You know what I mean? You get a feel. It's nothing like he's being portrayed. He's getting bashed pretty bad. My opinion is starting to kind of go in another direction with Corey. I don't think that he's, my opinion right now is I don't think he's lying. It's possible that he could have been involved in an MK Ultra type program where these thoughts were implanted. That's possible. And again, it's also possible that maybe some of it's true, but I don't think he's knowingly making stuff up. And just putting the story out there, I just don't get that feeling. So that's my take on Corey Good right now. So I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
Well, I think it's interesting to bring that up because I feel like his story has kind of resonated a fault line through the fringe community in general. This is what I keep talking about, how it seems like people are going against each other, because earlier this evening we were talking about Dr. Stephen Greer, and there's an article, and I don't have it in front of me, about people are not completely happy with him, and and it seems like I hate to see the community as a whole start finger pointing and saying, well, this person did this, and how can you trust him, or this person's only out for the money because he's only selling his presentations and his books and videos and stuff like that. And it's just really sad because I've watched the community so closely, going back many years, and it just seems like we're at this time where there's a lot of finger pointing and accusing people of being what they're not, and or maybe they actually are. It's hard to make decisions, but it's people like you, Eric, that is refreshing that you're on the front lines and you're talking to a lot of these people and you're able to get the information from them. And I really value you as a great source of information.
He's genuinely interested.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I thank you. And it's because truthfully, I mean, you get to a point when you're down in the rabbit hole, and you can only think about so many things that are happening while you're in this rabbit hole. But none of it you can really put your finger on and say, I know this for a fact. I can speculate, I can draw through my intuition, I can draw through my discernment, and I can talk. But when you're actually, like you just said, sometimes if you can look at somebody in the eye, you can see their body language, you can listen to how they talk to you, you can watch how they react to things. It is a whole nother piece of the puzzle that you don't get when you're watching YouTube videos and reading tweets and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And that's what helped me kind of figure out, okay, I kind of got enough of a grip on this particular rabbit hole. I don't need to hang out in this hole. I'm going to climb on out of here and go into another hole now and research something else. So, again, it doesn't mean I know everything, doesn't mean I have the facts. It just, for me personally, I feel more comfortable with what I feel like I can move forward and not feel stuck. I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
Mm-hmm. It does.
But, it goes back to what I talk about when the search for truth is that you're not relying on one piece of information. You're weighing different sources out. And, you do listen to, just different things. And that I respect you for, because at least you're looking at all the data from the left to the right, and you're drawing some conclusions upon a great source of information. And that is what I try to tell people, the space cadets here, that that is what needs to be done, is to don't just take one piece of information.
Don't believe everything you hear.
Exactly.
Or read.
Yeah, put it all together, see what the painting looks like, and come to some conclusions by that information that is presented in front of you at that point.
Yeah. So the one last thing I was going to tell you about is this lady. Her name was Stacy Lynn. I don't know if you remember that name. She was at the trial.
Yes,
I'm
looking to see if we can get her in here.
Wow, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Have you even got a hold of her?
Well, she's currently working on a project. So once she gets past that project, we're gonna,
And we were currently working on a hurricane, so.
Yeah, you know how it is. A hurricane kind of comes our way. But
she's a busy lady. She's. Have you actually had a chance to even talk to her on the phone yet, or you just been communicating on email, or how's that working out?
Well, we've started off with Facebook, and but we're getting there. Hopefully, at some point.
Yeah, she's a private person.
Yeah.
She's very private, and this is why I even brought this up. Is I don't know if you're aware of this. I don't know when this happened because I just found this out today. Is the Child Protection Services basically, according to her, they stole her child.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it has to do with, I think it's called Agenda 21. Is that what it's called? Agenda 21?
I am familiar with Agenda 21.
That sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another thing, I'd have to look it up because I just read it today and I didn't really study it. I just looked at it and read it and I thought, wow. But here's the deal, and for whatever reason, in that county that they live in there in Colorado, it doesn't mean all of Colorado is corrupt. It just means that, I mean, if you go to Washington, D.C., you can talk about, I'm sure you can talk about a lot of corruption there if you want to. But the reality is she's been researching this corruption in this county for a long, long time. We talked about that before, not just Stan Romanek, but many other, and she is a whistleblower, and she writes about it, and she's very thorough and very detailed, and they don't like that she's doing this, and so they kind of went after her in the same way that possibly they went after, Stan Romanek. In the sense that they figured out a way where they can. I don't even know the story, so next time I talk to you, I'll have more information. But they somehow figured out a way where they can take her kid from her, which they can do that in some cases. I'm not, whether it's under false pretenses or not, they have the ability to take your child. I mean, if they feel like that they can justify it, they will do it. And so that is their kind of, whatever they've done with that child, I don't know, but I'm sure that they're using that as leverage to keep her from blowing the whistle on some of these really high-up people in that county that are doing things, like the guy, the Koopman cop that's Brady listed. I'm sure he's just one of the bad guys. I'm sure there's multiple others that she knows about that she's ready to blow the whistle on. But so yeah, if you get her on, well, I'll tell you what. But she probably won't talk about Romanek until that case is over. I think because she's going to write a full-blown story on that case, and I think it's still kind of we're in like the 7th inning with Stan Romanek right now. We've got a few more innings to go, I think.
Yeah, we're reaching out,
yeah.
and I think that would be a great interview to get her on. And I just wanted to bring up real quick. You brought up two people tonight, Adam Ambrose and Sebastian Martin, both interviews with Reverend John Polk, shows 13 and 14 on the Quantum Hologram Matrix, and you can listen to that, or those interviews with John, Reverend John Polk, on the SBU network. So just go to the Quantum Hologram Matrix and shows number 13 and 14. Check out those exciting shows. Anything else you want to add, my friend?
Okay, so the next trip is going to be at the Camp Verde, Arizona, where Clifford Mahooty lives.
Ooh.
And he lives over there near he lives on the side of the river or lake, whatever it is, river that's over there near the mountains. And these particular mountains are huge mountains, and halfway up the mountain there are what look like Indian adobe-style homes that were built way, way, way back in the day. I mean, we're talking way, way back. But what's strange is they're so high up, you have to think, well, okay, if they built those from the ground up, then it couldn't have been humans that did that. It had to be the star people. That's what they call them, the star people. But, or maybe the water level was much higher, which I've heard, way back in the day, and so maybe that it wasn't so high then. But what's strange about these homes, kind of whatever they are, that are in the side of this mountain, their windows, they have these little portal-style windows that are very small, and they're way up there. So, like, let's say you had a house that was a 2-story house, like, say 20, 30 feet up, and you had your window 18 feet up in the air. I mean, it's kind of strange. How would a human, and why would a human put a window in a home on the side of a mountain 18 feet up in the air? You know what I mean? It's like, so I'm going to try to figure that one out when I go meet Clifford, and we're going to look at those things. He's going to tell me some stories. So that'll hopefully be the next interesting story I'll have to tell you guys.
Yeah, Clifford Mahooty is definitely an interesting gentleman. In fact, just another show that John did on his show back, I think it was March 15th of this year, and archived in the SBU network. So if you get a chance, listen to that one too.
Yeah, so you guys could see what I'm doing. I mean, John and I, we get these guests on, and then once we get to know them a little bit, then the opportunity presents itself to go meet these people, whether it's at a conference or wherever, and then kind of dig in a little deeper and, try to get more information so that we can bring out stuff that's maybe not being put on YouTube and on Twitter and things like that. Try to get, interesting, something different, something more interesting, hopefully, that's going to get...
Cool. Are you still there, Eric? Did we lose Eric?
No, he's still there.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
I pushed mute by accident. Sorry about that.
Well,
so anyway, that's the update. I'm going to go, I might Arizona next week if possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, keep us posted when you ever get a chance and you're available on a Saturday night to chit-chat or update us on the relevant topics like you have. You have an open door to the universe.
Right on. Well, you guys hang in there. Hopefully, things will get back to normal. I know it's going to take a while, but we'll see you. We'll see you Wednesday.
All right, boss. We'll see you Wednesday.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Hi, Eric.
Man, Eric chiming in. It's always interesting hearing from Eric, and of course, the tie-in with the quantum hologram matrix on Wednesday nights.
Hopefully, everything will be
back to normal,
stable. We'll have power, we'll have internet,
and
it'll all come together.
I really didn't think we were going to do a show tonight, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, what is it, 5:30 or 6 o'clock? It went out again.
Right, and 6 o'clock is my okay, we got to start getting things ready, put it to...
I sort of had things ready, and I was like, I know they told you 10:30, 10:40, but I've got internet right now. So I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, I got a text message earlier. Well, they probably gave us, the worst case scenario. And then
it was actually better. But I said, look, let's just get on. I don't want to lose momentum.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gene. Some regular updates from Gene, from Eric would be cool. And hopefully we can get some more information as time goes on and all that good stuff. So, Surlana, it's way past when we normally close the show. Mm-hmm. And do you have any final thoughts? Like
I said, we're recovering. The city's recovering. I go back to work for the first time since August 26th on Tuesday because Monday, we were going to have Monday off anyway because it's Labor Day. So my workplace flooded in the bottom and in the place where I park. So that'll be interesting to see how they got that all cleaned up. So.
Okay. I want to just personally say that thank you to all those who have reached out to us and, to check on us to see if we're okay. It's moments like this during a catastrophe that you really get to see
who cares
and who really doesn't care. But
silence is deafening sometimes.
It is. And I just want to say once again that one, I'm hopeful in mankind when I see what I've seen here in Houston. It's great that immediately, once the devastation was pretty much in place, how people came together locally and didn't wait on people to...
Didn't wait on the government.
Yeah,
local or state or federal.
So basically, I'm glad to see that my hope hasn't diminished in that aspect. And going as far as Louisiana, and we saw an Ohio rescue down here, which was great to see, and people from San Antonio coming to help out. It was just really good to see people come together. Yeah, thanks, Bob. We appreciate you guys sending somebody down here to help out the universe. And so yes, I'm happy. And there's still, like Surlana says, we still got a long ways. And and I don't want to sound like I'm an alarmist, but it looks like there's some more things churning in the Atlantic, and we can only wait and see what happens. And Hopefully those take a different direction away from us.
Please not here again.
So on that magical note, it's been great to have everyone back in the chat room, and we look forward to having you back on Wednesday night for Quantum Hologram Matrix, and then next Saturday, an exciting adventure awaits you to explore with us. That's Spaceboy Universe, here on the SBU Network.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Surlana. Executive producer is Surlana. Social media producer is Dennis Koch. Associate producer is Lee Ann Cordes. Music production is Spaceboy of SpaceboyMusic.com. Special thanks goes out to Lee Ann K, K28, Mark S, and Bob N. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. Support the universe by exploring Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Surlana. Sweet dreams, Space Cadets.